Hello, good evening, and welcome. You are watching the awesome Inview show. Comes to you every week on a Sunday evening, 7 o'clock till whenever, really. Probably about 9:30. Normally, it's a sort of 3 hour jam-packed show a lot of the time, 2.5 hours, whatever. I hope you all had a good week out there, and I hope you're well. And obviously, so many things are going on at the moment. It's just unbelievable. I'm going to come to that in a minute. News of the week. One of the important things, tell you who's on the show tonight, and that is very, very important. So, what we got on the show tonight? We have got another plethora of guests. 7:20 tonight. We start off always news of the week, so news that catches my eye and everything. There's a lot to talk about, as normal. Nothing stays the same at the moment. Things are really in a very strange place. 7:20 tonight. These are all first-time people on the Inview tonight. None of these have been on the Inview before. We have got the amazing Tanya Weimer, I hope I said that right. Works at Healing Hands. Tanya is a tarot card reader and very spiritual being. She's on at 7:20. 7:50 tonight. We have the amazing Ruck. Now, this is somebody that has been on pre-shows with me. He is a music producer and creates his own music. He also puts it together and everything else. And he has an immense understanding and definition in today's world. 8:20 tonight is the amazing Simon Heathcott, who is a psychotherapist and healer who has developed a unique way of working, drawing on Jungian concepts, mysticism, archetypal psychology to help return clients to their essence of deep soul. He specializes in relationship addiction. An award-winning writer, former newspaper editor and broadsheet travel writer, he underwent a profound inner journey of meditation, which he brings to his work. Simon trained at Broadway Lodge, Britain's first specialist addiction treatment centre, and worked at the Priory at Roehampton, specialised in the treatment of sex and love addiction. Interesting guests. Looking forward to speaking. Looking forward to speaking to them all, but very interesting. And then at 8:50 tonight, or round about that, we have got the world according to Cusbro. So my cousin is coming on. He's going to bring his wisdom of what he views in the very strange reality we are in at this moment in time. So our first guest up tonight at 7:20 will be Tanya Weimer, and really looking forward to speaking to her. She's never been on the show before, and it's great to have her on board. I haven't had confirmation from Ruck yesterday, today even, or even yesterday or the day before that he will be here, but hopefully he will be. If not, then you're going to get me. So, and then of course Simon Heathcott, and then the world according to Cudspro. So, how are you all doing out there? How on earth and what on earth is going on in our reality? Now, we ask that question constantly on the show, because unfortunately, the world has completely gone mad. This country has gone mad. I sat and watched some of the filming from that's been broadcast on obviously news channels in relation to the well, I would call them riots more than anything else that's going on in London. I do feel that I know this all started off in relation to the racial abuse of in the USA, but I do feel that this has gone into a different realm. We are sitting in a place where people are very basically fed up and disenfranchised and not connected and don't feel connected to anything. I watch these people, and these are obviously, this is going back to the dark ages. This is white people supposedly supporting these statues we have in our country. But in themselves, I'm watching people doing Nazi salutes, spitting, beating people up. I watch groups, huge groups, walking through a park, just getting people to move out their way. And then you've got the other side, and that I watched, which is the black people that are there, obviously having their voice heard in relation to obviously on the march and everything. But I watched quite a few clips of black people beating up white men on their own that happen to be segregated. I watch all of this with enormous amount of concern and worry, because I don't feel any of them know what they're doing anymore. They're not fighting for various things. This is where we've had a powder keg going on in this country for a very, very long time. This went back to 3.5 years with Brexit, then the divided the country. We had a general election, divided the country, and now we had COVID-19, divided the country, because most people can see the farcical way that it's been managed in this country by the government, which have clearly misrepresented themselves. They're absolutely useless and all should be in The Hague, and taking and they should be there for their criminal activity in relation to their neglect of people. That's the key. And then we had the George Floyd incident, which then sparked all this demonstrations and then rioting and all sorts. And we do know that there are elements of in our society latch onto these and turn it into riots and looting and all manner of different things. I watch it very sad. I'm very sad to be British. I'm very sad that these people are doing what they're doing. I feel that, as I said before, our ship, the Earth Titanic, is not being piloted properly. There's a mutiny on board because none of them actually believe in the government anymore. Jason McCusbro will be on later, has joined us. Hello, good evening, Cusbro. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing all right. Look forward to speaking to you later. It saddens me with the images I've seen. And some of them are not young people, they're older people. And I've seen how the police are treating these, beating them, doing it. It's just, I don't know. I just don't get it. I mean, but there's a lot of aggression. People are being cooped up. And I do feel a lot of that's overspilling. And obviously we'll talk about that more, but there's a psychology going on here. There is an enormous amount of psychologically damaged people through the very bad mismanagement of government that we have, that haven't looked at the needs and requirements of people and what they need to survive and everything else. And they're so wishy-washy, they haven't given the right guidance. So the ship has not hit an iceberg, it's sinking. And these people, and Boris and his cronies, not in power, no. I mean, look, leaked memos and people that have come out that worked in cabinet, that are not there now, that have been sacked. A lot of people say, well, they would say those things because they're not there. They all turn around and say the one person that's running 10 Downing Street and the Conservative Party is not a Conservative. It's Dominic Cummings. Now, I spoke about Dominic Cummings 4 months ago on the show, and told you what a liability this person is. He's a very dangerous person. And he, inside himself, got Boris through single-handedly with the Brexit campaign, with his slogans and everything else. And obviously with his slogans and everything else, coronavirus. The person is untouchable. Boris and all his cronies can't do much about him because he obviously has an enormous dossier of stuff on them as well. So if he was to be got rid of, I do think the shit will hit the fan. Anyway, I'm not going to go on and on about that. I want to bring some news of the week. We have got a stack here. Look at this lot. Wow, loads. Found loads of stuff this week. And you know, I went into a different league of newspaper this week to check as well. I actually bought a Telegraph. And the only reason I bought that Telegraph is what the front page was saying. And you know, I do find it very hard to believe. I mean, if you just look on the BBC website, which I'll just tell you this, right? This is about, obviously, the shops opening tomorrow, and most shops will be open. But obviously, they're under strict conditions. Bear in mind, where's those strict conditions up in London with, or around Bristol and all these other places, and where the police or even the demonstrators are not distancing? And to be honest, the distancing already has been proven an absolute load of rubbish. I mean, they want to get rid of 2 meters down to 1 meter because they know that ain't going to work out there in shops, in pubs, in restaurants, which all open a week tomorrow. And those big cheer goes up when that's said. Interestingly, I read through some of this, and Waterstone's a very famous place for their books. It says here, now bearing in mind they've got hundreds of outlets across the UK. Waterstones says it will quarantine books for 72 hours after people have touched them. So basically, the shelves are full, people come in, and then they're going to pick up books. Loads of people are going to pick up books, or they're going to watch everyone on what book they pick up. And all those books that have been handled by people are going to be taken off the shelf and quarantined for 72 hours. That's 3 days. Is that likely to happen? Probably not. They say that will happen. But I just, again, I find it astounding. Absolutely astounding. I just thought I'd share that with you because I just find it abhorrent, to be honest. It ain't going to happen, is it? What's in the news this week? We have got Basic Instinct star. Now, Basic Instinct was a famous film. That's where Sharon Stone was on it. It's a thriller. Sharon Stone crossing her legs and everything else. Basic Instinct star Sharon Stone has revealed she was struck by lightning while doing the ironing. It's not funny. It's not funny, all right? The force of an estimated 1 billion volts hurled the actress 62. Of course, they've got to put an age, haven't they? We don't know how old she is. They need to put it in there. The force of an estimated 1 billion volts, 1 billion volts, right, hurled the actress 62 across her kitchen and smacked into the fridge. She was only brought out of her altered state by her mum, Dorothy, 87, who slapped her across the face. Medics who did a test on her heart discovered electricity inside her off the scale. Well, they would do. She'd just been hit by a bolt of lightning. The mum of 3 said, I was hit by lightning. Wow, it was really intense. I was at home. We had our own wow. I was at home. We had our own wow. I was filling the iron with water and I had one hand on the faucet and the other on the wow and got hit by lightning, and the lightning came through the water. I got picked up and thrown across the kitchen. I hit the refrigerator and I was like, whoa. And my mother was standing there and mother just belted me across the face and brought me to. I was in such an altered state, just so I don't know how to describe it. So bright, like, wow. And she threw me into the car and drove me to the hospital. And the EKG she was showing just such electricity in my body. It was crazy. The star recently said she was fed up with questions about famous leg crossing scenes in Basic Instinct. She filmed a short film scene. She was shot in another century and has dominated her life. So this star, Sharon Stone, just doing her ordinary 62, by the way. Put that age in, I don't know why. She's doing her ironing and she's struck by lightning that throws her across the room. And she has a lot of electricity in her. Are we really that stupid that we wouldn't know that she'd have a lot of electricity in her? Astounding. Absolutely astounding. I've got loads of news here. Loads and loads of news. This is Jamie Oliver, Italian chain. Jamie's Italian diners have collapsed, owing nearly 83 million, including £90 to a window cleaner. It's not funny, none of it, but the way they write this stuff. He's owing nearly £83 million, including £90 to a window cleaner. The restaurants had debts with 288 companies, including 4,471 to cleaners, 2,461 to a light bulb company, and even £26 to a brown paper bag supplier. That's how detailed this is. So he's gone bust. They're not the only ones. There's many people going to go bust. There's many people that aren't even going to open their doors to people in their shops tomorrow. And this is the daunting and worrying factor. Forget about these people who got mega money. What about those that haven't got mega money? What about those that are literally surviving right now? Those are the people we should look at, because the bow wave of psychological damage is enormous. We did have a message from Tanya Weimer. I'm just going to read what it says here. Boom, boom. It's good for live radio, this. Tanya Weimer says, connection here at minute is awful. I'll call on mobile, but heads up about signal. Internet is completely down. Isn't that funny? Things that happen when people come on the interview. I'm really sorry you're having difficulties. So I hope we do speak to you, Tanya. This is a corpse on a 250-mile journey. This is a dead man on a train. A dead man on a train, unnoticed for 5 hours. The dead body sat on a train for 5 hours. It sat there dead. Staff failed to spot the corpse, as they cannot interact with passengers amid coronavirus fears. The 6-year-old had a heart attack shortly after boarding the 1827 cross-country service from Manchester to Piccadilly. He was due to get off 8 minutes later at Stockport, but his body was not found until the final stop in Bournemouth, 250 miles away. A cleaner made a grisly discovery at the town central train department on Saturday. Due to the COVID-19 outbreak, the source said, conductors have been ordered not to interact with patients. They are not walking through carriages, checking tickets, and making sure everyone is okay. They shouldn't say things like that. We're not walking through carriages, checking tickets. People won't get one then. A source said due to the COVID, and they're not walking about carriages, checking tickets, and making sure everyone is okay, as they usually do. Their only task is dispatch trains safely. They spend the rest of the journey at the rear of their office. The poor fellow was dead on the train for 5 hours before being found, which is heartbreaking in a civilized society. Civilized society? Don't make me laugh. That word, them words, civilized society. Are we living in a civilized society? Are we really, with what we're doing? Do we really think we are civilized people? When you watch these people in London, which really absolutely horrified me in lots of ways, in how people are behaving, they're like they're on drugs. They're like they're not in this planet. They're not connected to any. I know we're all connected together, but these people have taken crazy pills. Do you know what I mean? Whatever ethnic background you come from, you've got a massive representation of far right that are protecting statues. And isn't it ridiculous that we live in this day and age that Winston Churchill is now sitting in a TARDIS for his own protection? Whatever way you want to look at it, that man had a big backing in the fact of how we won the war. Yes, he had other sides to himself. Yes, I know. But, you know, oh, my phone is ringing. It must be. Tanya, let's see who's on the phone. Who's calling the Inview? Hello, is that Tanya?
Hi, Clint. Yeah, it is. I'm really sorry about this.
No, you don't have to be sorry to be on the Inview. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Don't worry about your internet. I just need to talk to you on a telecommunication type device.
Well, you've got me about a hope so anyway for a little while.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming on, because I know you've never been on this show before. I don't know if you've done anything like this before.
No, not really. I was just saying, I spoke to a lovely lady, April, who is actually in San Diego in America a little while ago, and she did a little interview on me. But yeah, great. This is all new to me, talking to you.
I know. Well, don't worry, I don't bite. It's all. I've got no questions for you. I just sit here and we just randomly rabble on for half an hour, basically talking about anything and everything, really. And it's a bit like we sit in the kitchen having a cup of coffee or a beer or something. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And obviously, as I said already, because I know I asked you for a bio that didn't come. It don't matter, because now you've been on here, we get you on again. So it's not a case that you come on once, that's it, see ya. We get you on again in a few months. So
oh,
so it's all good. It's all good.
I'm loving this. I'm pulling up my chair.
Yeah, pull your chair up. I mean,
I am.
yeah, absolutely. The Inview is a relaxed Sunday evening show to bring out. It's not about me. I just facilitate it. It's about all the guests we have on from all walks of life. Many are spiritual, elemented people that are there that are not heard in our reality because there's no mainstream outlet for them. I know there's many outlets on the internet which are growing, but this is a regular show that we have on for people to voice their opinions and say what they want to say. And I get so fed up with the garbage we're told in our reality. I want to do a show where I can stand and rant if I want to about the rubbish that we live in. Anyway, enough of that. Let's come back to you, young lady, Tanya. And obviously you're a tarot card reader. What else? What else do you do? Where do you work and where do you do it? Let's start there.
Well, I will be going to work shortly, actually, Clint, because
Really?
I actually work in. I am, yeah. I do nights, so I'm quite fortunate that I get to do kind of what I love on the side of actually going to work in the real world.
Okay, so you do the tarot card reading like daytime. You have a night job, if you like. I used to work nights myself years ago. I know what it's like.
I love it. So I work with adults with learning disabilities, autistic backgrounds, things like that. So I work in I'm very lucky actually with the guys that I work with. They're absolutely fantastic group of people that I work with. But I do 4 nights on, 4 nights off. So it's really, really lovely for me because I get the benefits of both sides. Do you know what I mean? So I have quite a lot of time to dedicate to doing this. But I also have
but you use I saw time, but you would use your abilities. I mean, that's what I say to people when people say, well, I suppose I might be psychic or I might be spiritual. Everyone is, and we use it in lots of different ways, and some of us don't use it in the way that we do, in necessarily going out doing readings and things like that, because that's not the vocation perhaps. But with yourself, you probably utilize your skills within your job, because we're talking about highly evolved beings, autistic children and everything, aren't they?
They are actually massively so. But I mean, I've been very lucky because my background has been, I've always done nursing work anyway. When I was younger, I mean, I started off working with people with brain injuries, and then it went on to working in the hospital in various forms. And then I was a foster carer for like 17 years. And then I've kind of worked with children in nursing, in care homes as well. And then obviously I do what I do now. So I've had quite a big background in care work, if you like.
And that must have been quite difficult with coronavirus and everything else going on as well.
It has been, actually. It's not so much, I know it's difficult for staff supporting people within the home, but it's the people that are in the homes that have really, really suffered from it. And people have, I mean, it's a bit of a dubious subject at the moment when you talk about everything that's going on.
Well, nothing's dubious on this show, I'll tell you.
But when you're talking about people that have got some forms at times ignorance because they don't know, do you know what I mean, about what it's like having a mental health.
You probably find because those people actually that say that have worse problems.
People are scared of people with mental health. You know what I mean? They don't understand it, and they maybe never dealt with it.
We live in a society that used to put them all in mental asylums. Anyone that was different, I'd be in there. They locked me away years ago. For being a lunatic because I don't conform. But many people are in there, and I say this all the time, is the fact that I do feel the one thing in this country we've got right is that we are recognising, bearing in mind, autism is something that's relatively new on the radar, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And it would have probably been called something else in the past, but mental illness and everything is something that I feel that we are taking far more seriously, because there are all these places springing up where these people can be together, you know, not in a prison, but in a nice environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but the thing is, the problem is with any kind of disability now, and I suppose this is my kind of, and that goes back to me working within foster care. Everything now has to be pigeonholed, or it's on a broad spectrum, or people have to be labelled, and that's the difficulty when you're looking after people with different varying issues, backgrounds, problems that they're having to deal with. Everything's like got to have a label for, name for,
and lots of red tape and loads of forms to fill in.
Yeah.
And you know, to a degree, pills are not always the answer. These people need humility. They need interaction. They need connection. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's also not just that. A lot of it isn't just the mental health, it's their backgrounds, and it's that as well. And it's understanding what's going on with an individual, and it's getting them the right support as well, and sticking them sometimes in homes or whatever out the way. I mean, thank goodness it has changed a lot now. Do you know what I mean? But
I think people have become more aware. I mean, I certainly know where I am. I'm down in Somerset. There are lots of places around here that are specialised in mental health, autistic people, that adults as well as children that you see out and about, and well, not necessarily at the moment, but you do normally. They're out and about, and you know, with people with them, and they're being treated right and fairly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's the sub part of it is as well, though, is when you have a look at over time as well, it's had such a lot of bad press as well.
I know.
A lot of institution places like that, and it's not the reality.
No.
There are a lot of good people. There are lot of good places. And again, it's unfortunate, I guess, at the moment, everything's coming out it's either fortunate or unfortunate, whichever way you're looking at it, where things are getting highlighted. But I wish it'd be one issue at a time that was being dealt with and looked at sufficiently.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, it's I know, because I used to in another lifetime, in this life, I used to be a contract manager in London, and used to oversee FM in schools, and I was there right when they were building them. And you know, I had to do a lot of research in autism myself, because many of the rooms, that the colours they wanted to paint, you couldn't paint, because they would aggravate these children. You know, I'm talking about trigger mechanisms, and you couldn't have clocks in the classrooms and things like that. It's lots of things you had to look at. It was very detailed, you know, and you know, it opens your eyes and broadens your spectrum in relation to having the understanding of what's going on with these people. Because at the end of the day, Tanya, all of us have something anyway. All of us got something.
Yeah.
You know, none of us are immune to it. Just because we are not like those people doesn't mean, you know, mental illness is invisible, as we know. And, you know, it's not like having a broken leg or I've done my back in or whatever. It's, you know, and the mental illness right now, particularly with the population, which should imagine 70% are scared stiff to go out their door still now.
If you've got to think about it, when we've got no routine, or structure, we've got nothing.
Yeah.
And this is at my biggest bugbear. It's almost as if I absolutely 100% agree that there are elements that we need to change, but it's not going to be done in overnight.
No, it's not.
And people also have to get used to an idea, even like, so you can imagine somebody with autism who has their structures, because they are, everything is routine.
Yeah.
You imagine, as I say, and even like ourselves, it would be absolutely destroying, which is what's happened to every single individual. Our whole lives have changed almost overnight.
Yeah.
And it's just change after change. It's not just one singular change, it's everything has changed.
And it doesn't help when the people in the front that are supposed to tell you what you're meant to do,
there's no leadership.
There's absolutely nothing. You know, they're all on the Titanic. They're steering our Titanic, not into an iceberg, over a cliff.
But if you look at everything at the moment, everybody is trying to find some form of control in their life. Be it people in this country, being the people that are running the country, being abroad, they're all trying to, everybody's kind of scrabbling for that top job, aren't they? They're all trying to make sense, or at least speak sense, or get people to bandwagon and rally around. And
yeah. Unless your name's Dominic Cummings, and then you can do everything.
Well,
you can run the country, and you can drive all the way to a castle.
Where is he now? He seems to have disappeared, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, he hangs his head in shame. He's a very, very nasty piece of work, and unfortunately, has been proven by people that have come out of there that he's actually in charge of the government. So poor old Boris would be lost with it. But you see, you know, all of them have got something. All of them, even in there, they're multi-millionaires, these people. And you would think that they've had a bit of common sense, but they made it so convoluting, so confusing, that nobody knows what they're meant to be doing, really. So they just say, oh, sod it, I'll just do this.
Well, it's going to be an interesting, in my mind, I don't know where I'm really sitting on any of it. I'm trying to kind of be a little bit impartial with a lot of it, because I think until we're actually given facts about what each individual person or whatever point they've got to make, whatever it is they're trying to throw at us all at the moment, it's like, can you actually come with us, you know, and actually tell us what any of us are supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be more interesting to me, because the coronavirus issue was kind of like taking a back seat. But from my point of view, considering they were saying to us all we had to go to work no matter what, and I know I've got my own feelings on that. Yeah, because obviously I work for private, and it was very upsetting for me, kind of as time was going on, where we were kind of all just ignored for a little while, but we were still going
to work. And like the care home, absolutely ignored. I totally agree.
Nothing kind of been set out or anything else, and then it's kind of like, you know, right, okay, so we're all doing that, and then suddenly everybody's still out and about doing their thing. I know not everybody was. I know there have been those people that have stuck to it religiously, but then all of a sudden it's like now, after all the rallies and all of this, that and the other, and they're opening the shops, so I'm kind of like thinking, well, if we don't have a second wave, I'm going to be really annoyed, because what on earth has any of this been for up to this point?
Well, do you not feel the strain, the mental strain on people who are in our lifetime? We would never, no one's experienced what we've been through really with this, because you shut the whole world down, not just country, but looking at particularly this country, you have repressed people.
It's like, this is what I'm saying. It's almost like they took our structure away, and now it's the complete. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. There's children, primary kids are in charge of us by the way they treat us.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Sorry.
No, go on. No. Sorry, go on.
It's you know, I mean, these rules and regulations and everything. It's like what I just read. All the shops open tomorrow. So obviously a lot of people go, but a lot of people won't, because they'll be too scared. Plus, if they live in London, they might be too scared because they might be stuck in the middle of right wing against black people. Do you know what I mean? With this whole new thing that sits there, which really is a suppression of people, and it needed something to be released, and it is with this. Do you know what I mean? This is just the beginning, really. What's happening all over the world of people that have been suppressed, that have so much frustration, aggression inside themselves. Do you know what I mean?
But what I can't make sense of was initially it was a case of, right, if you're going back to work to use public transport, but you're only allowed so many people on the buses or on the trains.
Yeah.
eventually they're going to be opening it up for everybody to be going on this. But you must.
Well, they were anyway. Key workers, they said that the trains are there. I remember watching a station in Acton a month and a half ago when everyone's supposed to be locked down and key workers are supposed to be going to work. And of course, a lot of them don't drive. They're in the outskirts of London. They all get on a train at Acton. And you notice this train pulls up. It's an underground train in an overground area. Hundreds of people get out and pile in another underground train.
But this is the irony. The irony to me is all about how we were supposed to be safe in the NHS and hospitals and everything else, but they've still got people going in and some are still full to capacity. So it's like, we've still got people in nursing homes, but now we're encouraging people to be like mingling, or it's got to be smaller classes, or people I'm just like, and then we've just had like all the riots and people going out protesting. And I'm just like, well, this has almost been a mockery to everybody who does care work, or all those people that were working in shops or doing those jobs. I'm like, to me, this is just, I don't know what
You're
to say.
dumbfounded, aren't you? You're dumbfounded.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
And you know, you're not the only one. I'm completely shocked. I'm really shocked at the behaviour of these people that really have no balls about them at all in relation to making any decisions about anything. And it's so wishy-washy. I'd just like to say that Debbie Johnson's joined us. Hello, Debbie. Gemma Jane Brooks has joined us, and she says she agrees with you in a way, who's watching, listening right now, listening to you. I think there will be a second wave. That's why my daughter isn't going to school for the next 2 weeks when the others go back. She also says the shops where we're heaving today, everyone running around, being prepared for tomorrow. I had a mask on and nearly suffocated myself. Massive long queues, no social distancing, and she completely lost it.
But do you know what? I think the thing is with the social distancing, when initially it was there, wasn't it? And you were going into shops and people were feeling very awkward, and it was uncomfortable because it's not. You like to have a bit of a chat with people around you. Do you know what I mean? You pass the time with that, and everybody felt almost apologetic for being so alien towards other people. If you go into, and I won't say the supermarket, but now,
it doesn't matter. You can say what you like.
The shop workers are all standing there having a chat, and they're all leaning over the thing. Nobody's really giving a step. And you're thinking, well, like, because my parents, bless them, my mum has got COPD, hasn't been allowed out, and then my dad has got diabetic as well. So he's not been about. And for me, who is especially working within a care home, who then can't go and see my parents, to me, I'm absolutely, it's really upset me because we were also told that obviously if we don't go to work, we don't get paid, so we get our sick pay, or we have to take holiday. Just back in the face. And at the minute, we're kind of like, well, if we end up having to do like these tests and everything else, which they're saying everybody's got to do, and because we all actually work quite closely together, you can't social distancing what we're doing.
Yeah, but it's proven what they're saying is that we don't need to be 2 meters, we need to be 1 meter. But the fact is, it comes down to the fact that regardless of what anyone's my opinion, my belief is the fact that this is a particularly bad prevalent strain. Thousands of people have died unnecessarily, I think, by the actions of this government, by not shutting the country down sooner. But every year we lose in the world between 250 to 650,000 people seasonally with flu. And, in this country, we're on probably about 50,000 people that's died, which is, it's very sad, everyone that's passed. But there's many miscalculations with what they're trying to tell us in relation to it. Everyone that died had coronavirus, apparently, but they didn't.
Well, the thing is, my argument as well is as soon as we've separated people away, as soon as people start interacting again, especially come up sort of like towards the autumn season, going into winter, whatever, we're going to end up with stomach bugs, people that have got colds, just general illnesses, just what we normally have. And like you said, the seasonal flu, which kills however many people each year.
Yeah.
So on top of that, we've got this going on. So you've got people that are going to be suppressed immunity anyway, because when you start washing your hands, what are you doing? We're not, you know what I mean? Everybody does wash their hands, but not religiously to the degree that we are now.
I know people don't wash their hands to go to the toilet. You know, it's disgusting. I mean, hopefully these people are educated now, you know.
But what I'm saying is, when you start washing your hands to that degree, you're suppressing your immunity anyway.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? So
yeah.
And
you're suppressing your mental state by having to be kept in all the time.
Oh, the damage that has done globally is just unbelievable. And again, I also think how many people have also elderly people have died of loneliness.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's a forgotten thing in this world. The loneliness, the older people are forgotten about. I mean, when this came about, the government just turfed people out of hospitals and put them in care homes. Do you know what I mean?
But it's not even just that, is it? If you think about the elderly generation, and this is a minefield, what I'm about to just say.
No, I understand what you're going to say.
But I just think about, like, the elderly people that, I mean, generationally, and I'm not excusing this for one single second, and I really am not saying that racism or people's ideals or anything like that they come from that generation where it's only through learning and people educating people that it's not okay about being discriminative towards other people. But when you start then, when they're like watching the television and seeing the things that are going on now,
I'm disgusted.
I can't imagine what they're thinking.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about all issues on it because it's just. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. I know as a white female, and I look at this and I think, well, I don't agree with some of the things that have gone on. I don't agree, but in terms of taking statues down and taking away the history, I don't understand. I understand the argument for it, absolutely, I do. But where do we go from the stately homes? Where do we go?
Where does it end? Where does it end? Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't. And when you look at our education, I think the thing that upsets a lot of people now is we can't educate our children. I mean, like Christmas and all of the things around that. I absolutely think that it should be a diverse curriculum. Yes, I do. And nobody should be ignorant about anything. It shouldn't be anything ignorant about.
You talk a lot of sense, young lady, I'll tell you.
When it comes down to our own, what about our own history and what we should be proud of, be it the good, the bad, and the indifferent. It should be. And
we should teach the indifferent and the bad as well, which is what we haven't done.
But wiping it out or apologising for it, I don't think anybody will stand there and say the Holocaust was okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. But the thing is, what people don't realise, because it's all right, all these people doing what they're doing right now, rioting, smashing up statues, beating up people and all sorts, losing all sight of what they're actually standing up for at all. Because, you know, in relation to that history of that time, we were a different people, being led different. It was harder times. There was different rules. There wasn't the health and safety. There wasn't the nanny brigade there. There wasn't the regimented, you know, we can't do this and we can't do that. You know, it was different. That's what it's about, isn't it? And it's different now. And you know, we have, you know, in however you want to look at it, there is within the population, there will be and has been a driver of racist people. You know, that sits there, and you know, but we must learn to live together. Do you know what I mean?
I think there's so many arguments that can stand up. Not one of them is right.
No, I agree.
We can, you know what I mean? People can argue for each side, and everybody has got a valid point to where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like you say, you cannot eradicate history. You can only change the future.
Taking a statue down doesn't change it. It's wrong. It's not right. You know, what we're going to do, we're going to go through and change the whole of history. It's just ridiculous. I'm just gonna bring up a few points that people raised on it. Gemma says people are behaving like the virus is gone. I'm still wearing gloves as I'm petrified. I'm trying to be 2 steps ahead of everyone else's stupidity and lack of care. She also says everyone being forced to have a test, whether you have symptoms or not, is a convenient way for the government to get hold of everyone's DNA. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm not having a test. I'm not having vaccines. They're not putting anything on my body because I don't trust anything they do. Debbie Johnson says, I may be going mad, and please forgive me. I have for the first time channeled and found my guide, and he told me the cloning has started. This is what it is all about. Interesting on that is the fact that I put on my wall a film that Prince Charles supposedly being interviewed by Sky. It wasn't Prince Charles. It looks like him-ish, but it wasn't him. His mannerism and attitude, it wasn't him. It was a clone. And the other thing on here, I'll come back to you in a sec. You can comment on this if you want in a sec. Gemma also says, don't forget using too much hand sanitizer is bad for your health. As I saw a study that said that the chemicals in them are hormone disruptors. So no matter how you try and protect yourself, you can't. And she also says, reference the riots. It's classic divide and conquer, and no one can see it. Sorry, I just want to read them out.
No, I've been saying this since like way before like December. I've been putting upon my post and that about this is complete division, and it doesn't matter. Like they say, where you're at, every single issue has got a division in it. And it's equally, the way I'm looking at it as well is, even though we're looking at the government as bad, if you actually look at what's springing up around, you've got all of these little minority or majority groups springing up as well, which is equally like this divide and conquer as well.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a saying, it's almost coming away from the very thing that we originally were trying to.
It's an implosion. People are imploding on themselves here. Do you know what I mean? People that got on, people that were brothers and sisters. Doesn't matter what shirt or colour you are. And it's no different to what we went through way back in lifetimes we had before in Atlantis, where it's seeded by darkness. And as it was seeded by darkness, it imploded on itself because it destroyed itself.
Yeah.
And we're in that situation here.
Do you know what was really sad as well? A little while ago, when we first had the lockdown, everybody was just like in awe, weren't they, about the amount of nature that was coming out, and you were seeing deer on the roads, and everybody was just like, wow, this is amazing. And I always go back to, when you go to a funeral, and that day we're all standing there and we're paying our respects and kind of thinking how we're all going to change, and it lasts about a day or a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, the lockdown, so you can go back to work, and then suddenly there's all these cars on the road and people are driving around like headless chickens, and it's all about money again and building everything back up. And it's like people at the time were all talking about how they were going to spend differently and it was going to be different and all the rest of it. And it takes a matter of weeks, and it goes back to the same, doesn't it?
Because the problem is we live, unfortunately, a minority. I'm not talking about people like ourselves, and I'm not being detrimental to the mass, if you like, but there are a lot of people out there that are not spiritually switched on, that are literally going by the guidance of what they're told. They're getting confused, they're getting lost, they're getting psychologically damaged, they're getting restricted, and then they have no restrictions, so you can go out, so they get confused. And as mad as that sounds, they go out there and they have this pent-up frustration, aggression. These are people that have not seen people for weeks. These are people that haven't had a hug for weeks. Do you know what I mean? We need social interaction. We need to have, hugs and things like that as part of our life.
We're social creatures.
Yeah.
And it's also made me laugh. It was like, if you listen to the whole, blurb of everything, it's like we're being led by the science, and they were doing about social distancing, and they were doing social, like, how people behave, behavioural sciences. And I just thought, well, this is like quite interesting. This was right at the beginning of all of this like epidemic. It was like, oh right, so you're actually watching how, what we do day to day, how we interact, what happens if you cut this off, or do you know what I mean? You can go to the supermarket and everybody was like sheep, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But they were buying toilet rolls, loads of them, hundreds, thousands.
Yeah. It's interesting, but then it's the same, and then there's all this into the mix as well about suddenly everybody's on this pause, and it's like, and then suddenly, like, do you actually understand what that cause is about? Because I find it interesting, and it's not, and I hope this doesn't get taken out of the main context, because everything's a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a free flowed show where you can say whatever you like, really.
It's like, isn't it? The slogan Black Lives Matter, and it's like, right, so everybody's reading something into that kind of slogan, aren't they? Black Lives Matter. And it's not about they're trying to say anything indifferent to that. They're talking about that particular issue and whatever that encompasses. But suddenly,
but that encompasses an enormous amount of things going back long time, when our world was very different to what it is now, where there was more consistency with people, where people were more consciously connected. And I mean, you can go right back to Lord Kitchener in the Boer War in the early part of the 1900s. I mean, this is where the British history is all wrong, because, British white people should be taught in school that concentration camps were first done by Lord Kitchener in the Boer War for Africans they were fighting against, not in Germany.
This is what I'm saying. It's like historically where people could go back and get the correct information, but everybody's being so misinformed, or they're going on like marches. For what reason are you actually there?
I know.
Do you actually know why you're there? And
no.
Then you've got this other umbrella of
they're doing it on the whim of what everyone else is doing. It's a sheeple thing. Do you know what I mean?
But then who's at the very top of that? Who could potentially turn on people that are supporting that movement? And it's just like, how aware are you about what you're actually doing and the reasons you're doing?
That is the 100% question, because if you ask that to people, they wouldn't know. Because what they're doing, they don't know. Because yourself, you're a very spiritually aware person, that the secret of understanding what we are is to connect to us. And within lockdown, it's been a great changing factor for many people. Even people in spirit have had to go through enormous change. People that are not spiritually aware have had to open themselves, look at things. And it very much comes down to the fact that, in the reality we live in, spiritual people are brought into this reality. Do you know what I mean? Now.
I think every person you meet, they're there for a reason. And
yeah, we're all here for a reason. All of us are here for a reason.
And it should be a journey. It's like what you're learning,
yes,
and how you can change it to the better. How do you
the experiences you go through. But we are here right now at a very prevalent time that we knew was going to happen. That's why we're here. Can I just say, Gemma says, where is the Prime Minister? Where is Boris? Do you think Matt Hancock was Prime Minister? Well, I think it's actually Dominic Cummings, actually. And she also says, we all bleed the same colour and we are all one race, the human race. I completely agree. Hello, Stella. I didn't mention you earlier on. Stella Edmondson has joined us. Hello, Stella. I hope you're doing okay. She says, I saw 3 clones a few days ago, 3 of the same woman, rifle in their hands. Must be in America, I would have thought.
Wow.
But when you get a lot of people, and I know belief systems are driven by what we feel within inside ourselves. But when this all started with COVID, and it really was the fact that I did not and still do not believe what it is, right? Now that's my own personal opinion, but I'm not alone. It's not a conspiracy. It's not real. And the fake news we've had, the propaganda that we've had, is screwing people's minds. And they've been locked up.
If we don't have a second wave, and that's not what I want by any means.
No, I understand that.
I will question the whole of this thing.
I feel that if there's a second wave, we're going to get in October, November.
Yeah, I do. And if we don't, then I think a lot of people are going to go, what on earth? What has this whole thing been about? But I think by that point, there's going to be a lot more stuff that's going to be coming about. Because if you've noticed how very quickly the tide turned away from the coronavirus.
Oh, it has, yeah. It's moved on to Black Lives Matter. It's moved on to Maddie. That now we have a suspect.
We've still got Brexit to come.
And I was about to mention, we still got Brexit that Boris is saying tonight. We are going to be leaving them on the 1st of January. And where technically we've left, but we haven't. So we haven't left, technically.
No, and then equally we've got all the financial, because as soon as when they start doing all the projections of what we're going to be paying back, and they're going to be putting all like the taxes on stuff, and all the people are already in dire straits, and it's all going to kick off again with that, because you're going to have the disparities of, again, who's wealthy, who's not. You're going to be getting all of this other stuff. It is just going to be, for me, it's just, I don't know.
There is another wave coming, but it's not coronavirus at the moment. It's another wave of crap, basically. Because taxes and everything's going to go up. Our lives are going to become very, very difficult. They like to keep social distancing in. They like to keep controlling. And they like to know what you're doing. That's why they want to download your track and trace app.
Well, I don't think many people are going to be jumping on that. I really
they're
don't.
not. They're not.
I just don't think it's just going too far with people. Then it's the same as I'm waiting to see how many people are going to be doing fake tests as well, getting their mates to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It'll be the other thing. You know, people aren't going to be...
Buy it online. Buy your fake test online. Yeah, £100.
Yeah. If it comes down to it, I think. But it was interesting, that woman said about the women and that. A little while ago, I said about like the cock crowing 3 times, you know, like Judas.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, how many times you're going to keep denying? And it's just and it's also it's like about the other bit that makes me worried is that it's almost like we're all being diverted onto other.
Absolutely, to take our eyes off of the ball.
Yeah, and I thought, well, it's all getting very quiet in Iran and on the waters.
Yeah, but it's not. What I mean? It ain't at all. You go on Al Jazeera and watch that, you see a different news altogether.
It's like it wasn't a little while ago. It got very quiet. I think it was only up for about the day about the Russian ships and about if you remember, not so long ago, about when we had not pirates, but you know, like on the channel and stuff about fishing and kind of import. Because at the moment we're struggling with import and export and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is it going to be another kind of wave of that where you're going to start getting people coming in, you know, via sea? Are we going to start having other things going on like that? Because they're shutting the airports down, although they're allowing people to come through.
Yeah, but they're shutting these airports down, even though it's free. I know what you're saying. But the fact is that for 2 months, we didn't do that. So 20 million people come here, that for all those countries that are infected, as well as others. And then only last week or the week before, they said, we're going to now quarantine people that are coming in. Well, it's a bit late. The horse has bolted.
It is. And then you think about as well, it was how the thing I found most disturbing was how we had the horrific stuff of like suicide bombers. We had people like with bombs and stuff. And now you can just walk into a country and potentially you can contaminate populations with a virus. And I thought you can go and detect it because it's the virus.
Yeah.
And I thought, is this the new way now of how things are
Well,
going to start?
let's hope it's not. Let's hope it's not. Do you mind staying on a bit longer? Because our other guest is not actually on here tonight. I don't feel, because he's not contacting me. So that he'll be on at another point. You don't mind staying on a bit longer, no?
No, I feel happy to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I want to just run some, because I do a thing called News of the Week, and I pick out stories that are interesting. I just want to pass some of these by you, because you've got a very interesting point of view, and I'd like your take on them. And I don't buy a Daily Telegraph normally, because it's £2.50. Do you realise £2.50 to buy a Daily Telegraph is mad?
Wow.
But you know, there was a story on the front cover that I had to buy the paper, and the story was on the front page: lightning is a bigger risk to people than COVID. It says school children under the age of 15 are more likely to be hit by lightning than die from coronavirus.
Okay.
Well, that is a mad headline, isn't it?
It is, because they haven't actually at the moment proved or disproved it, have they?
I agree, because what you're saying is the fact that basically, you know, yes, they haven't been affected, but who say they aren't going to be? Do you know what I mean? Because nobody knows, do they?
No. That's and they still haven't actually proven, like, as I say, whether they've said, that children aren't carriers of it, but they don't know. And there are actually, that's the other thing that's kind of contradictory as well, because I know there has been a lot of people that have said that those children that have got low immune systems or have been poorly or whatever can't go to school, because they could be potentially affected by coronavirus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, so how can that just doesn't make sense either?
No, it doesn't. But nothing does. Everything. You see, the problem is they feed us stuff that we look at. We're intelligent people. We look at it, but it doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, we're not amongst all this.
What was the reason why grandparents weren't allowed to see their grandchildren? What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, because obviously they would think that the grandchildren potentially could carry it for the grandparent. I don't know.
There and then is a complete contradiction, isn't it?
Of course it is. Of course I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a mockery. Everything that they've done. And look, you can see what New Zealand done. They got somebody there, that lady, that is very strong, very dynamic, and straight to the point. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, and that's it. And the people will say, "Great, that's fine, and you're really good, and you're a strong leader, and we look up to you, and we believe what you're saying." Not here. Not here, because you know all of the politicians that work at home, apart from their 79 or 80 odd £1,000 a year pay they get for working at home, they got 10 grand for working at home. And peers will receive £162 for voting from their armchairs at home. What do you think about that? It's disgusting.
Yeah. I think this whole online voting thing that they were originally talking about, they said about in America, didn't they, about people are going to be voting from home and that. And even there, it's like, well, hang on a second, I don't really see how that could be easily manipulated. Do you know what I mean? And how many people haven't got laptops? That was another thing that was highlighted, wasn't it? How many, even in the UK, how many people couldn't afford the internet or didn't have access to the internet? All the education, like teachers were saying they couldn't do. They were there to do online learning with the children at home, but half of their classes didn't have access to the internet.
That's not good enough. What they should have done, and what the lesson learned from it, is the fact that obviously those children that are home, the vast majority of them, everyone, all of them should have had a laptop, right? And they could all link into the school. If they haven't got one or they haven't got a computer, then they get one given to them. Do you know what I mean?
But my friend's a teacher, and she said there was even like a mass load of red tape around that.
I bet there was, yeah.
There were those families whom she particularly works for, the school she works for, is for all children that have kind of been expelled. They come from like pretty dysfunctional backgrounds anyway.
Yeah.
And the homes that they're at, it's not that easy to infiltrate. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of school and home, it's quite a sticky topic. Do you know what I mean? Education and their beliefs around it. And she was saying they were told even if they were trying to do online lessons with them, that the laptop had to be away from the family dynamic because it could be construed for all different wrong reasons.
Yeah, I understand. I know what you mean.
Yeah. So she was saying, but that's even hard enough. So if you're trying to educate children from different backgrounds or got issues going on at home, how can you possibly do that?
Yes.
It makes your job even harder, and it makes education even harder. It's kind of like nothing's really been thought out properly.
No, not at all. It has not been thought out at all, and that it's been a rabbit in headlights scenario. Jason Harper McCusbro says it's all about control. Debbie Johnson says my grandchildren just need a hug from me. Human contact. You can see it in their little faces. Confusion, bless them. Of course it is, because if we go down the road of actually we stay in this zone of having social distancing, hugs and things have become a thing of the past, and it's a natural thing to want to hug, to want to be close to people you love. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's saying it's alien to everybody. Everything. I must admit, it's like when I've been, let's say, I feel for myself, I've probably been very fortunate because I've been able to go to work and come back, and my life hasn't massively changed. It has in terms of when you go out and it is for the shopping, and that's when it sort of like really is reinforced.
Well, isn't that interesting though, going shopping, just about in, because I spoke about this to McCusbro and various people before. We all routinely queue up outside 2 distance apart. It's all very nice. Then we go in and everyone's everywhere.
Yeah. And I think that it's the fact of, like, as I say, it becomes a reality when you want to go and see, like you say, your family and that kind of thing, and how difficult that whole part of it is. And I must admit, I will be really disappointed. I think, as I say, the twofold thing, isn't it? On the one hand, you think, I hope we haven't been lied to, and therefore we do get a second wave, just to prove that we haven't.
Well, you said yourself, if there isn't one, you've got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Where most people would think there would be a second wave, but technically, we are full of viruses. We're fighting viruses constantly. We have mouths full of viruses within inside ourselves, and obviously, if our immune system is low, then we have higher chance of getting it. And obviously, going back to the bigger point with it is the fact it comes down to the social maladjustment of psychologically damaged people that were actually, when I say normal, they were themselves before, where they have fear, where they have anxiety, where they're lost. I'll be talking to Simon Heathcott, who's listening right now. Hello, Simon. I want to change the tack just slightly and come away from coronavirus. So I want your take on this, because I'm interested, if you don't mind. Did you watch the documentary of Prince Andrew?
Right. Okay, the royal family.
Yeah. Did you watch him when he was interviewed?
No. I've heard bits about it, but I haven't.
I'm just gonna, because unfortunately, Prince Andrew, something's not right, and it stinks. And obviously, I'm only talking it because it's a new subject that is not going away. And Prince Andrew has now stepped down and out of the limelight of the royal family, which I feel in lots of ways are going through a massive transition, because I'll be very surprised if we have the Queen back on the throne. I feel it's going to be one of the others will be there, because she's 94. Do you know what I mean? Or 93. Prince Andrew says he's been accused The Duke accuses prosecutors in the United States of lies, insisting he has offered 3 times to be a witness. And the American law chief fires back saying, it's the prince who's lying, it's failing to cooperate and needs to come in. There is this tit for tat thing going on with them, where this person clearly in the interview with didn't have any remorse, didn't, knowing this person called Epstein, which is a very nasty piece of work, and known him very well. And, this is a member of the royal family that said he had to go over there and stay with him 4 days just to say goodbye to him. And, there's something not right there at all. Do you know what I mean? And the fact that, this is all our money. Do you know what I mean? We're talking about here. Prince Andrew will keep his $300,000 a year taxpayer-funded bodyguards that a lot of people be armed about. And also, the Prince Andrew's Trust broke industry rules when it paid £350,000 to its private secretary. You see, we live in a time where all this stuff is coming out. Do you know what I mean? We live in a truth time where things cannot be suppressed. And, the royal family themselves, we know through the centuries, have behaved and conducted themselves in most of the time behind closed doors and nobody really knows what's going on. But the absolutely huge interest, voyeuristic interest, in not just them, but programs like, it's the same as watching Big Brother and think people are interested in people, particularly if they're famous, particularly if they're rich. And, that one day they like them, the next day they shoot them down in flames. That's the world we live in. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, God, yeah. But it's just like nobody's interested, are they, in the normal? They want the drama, don't they? They want to.
Well, they want the EastEnder, the Coronation Street, the Emmerdale scenario, because most people, I'm not knocking it if you watch it or anything, but a lot of people. Sorry?
I don't watch telly particularly, but
no, but people watch EastEnders. And when they watch EastEnders, these people are actually looking at people that they think are real. And not only that, they actually psychologically make up themselves to be like them. And it sounds mad, but if you look at newspapers, the tabloids, that's the Suns, the Mirrors, the Stars, their front pages quite often have soap stars on them rather than what's happening in the world, because they know that it sell their newspaper.
Well, sex sells, doesn't it?
Well, sex sells, yeah. But well, don't even get me on the subject of sex, because we are such a repressed society, where we're tied this out with someone the other day. The fact that people even now have so many sexual issues and problems and everything else, just purely by their upbringing, by the people that they were with, and not having the openness, not being told. And what they're shown at school in sex education is, oh yes, you go and recreate life, and you go and meet somebody, and then you do this, and thus you give away what you have. What they don't teach you is you must go and explore it yourself.
I think one of the most worrying things, I was at work, and this is going back about a few months ago now, and there's a guy I was working with, and he was saying to me about his daughter, that they'd gone into school, and now on the curriculum, and she's only like sort of 9-10 years old, his daughter, and he was saying they were literally, on the education, they were doing one element, skin, where she thought she was on a scale male to female.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you be asking a prepubescent child about their sexuality and whether they think they're a boy or a girl?
I can't agree with you more.
Or do you see yourself as either or do you think that you're this or that? And I'm thinking, I know they should be educated today. It's not about, you come out of mummy's tummy. Do you know what I mean? They should be educated about sex properly. But I think it's all this.
But we are confusing it, because there is 120 different sexual orientation ways you can be. I don't know what they all are, but just because you're born a woman or a man doesn't mean you are a woman or man. Because I read a story out on here, I'll never forget it, a long time ago, where there was a family. Well, I say family loosely. There was a couple, a woman and a man, and there was a transgender that lived with them as well. So there's a three-way thing here. And they had two children, and one child was 4 years old. And they were on television doing this in an interview. I think it was on Good Morning Britain, quite a while ago. And they were being interviewed because she was saying that until they are four, until they're 4 or 5, they can at 4 or 5 they can decide what they want to be. So if they're born a girl and they want to be a boy, then they can change and be a boy after 5 years old or whatever. So they're actually telling these children, you do and you be what you like. And you know, if you want to be a girl, we'll call you that girl's name if you have one. If you want to be a boy, we call it, you know, I'm sorry, but you know, children, and you know this yourself in relation to who you are in this reality and the age you are, it's the fact that children don't know anything about any of it. Do you know what I mean?
I find it you know, alarming.
Alarming. I find it shocking and disgraceful.
The thing is, I don't care what it doesn't affect me. Do you know what I mean? You know, anybody can be sexually diverse in whichever way they want to.
I'm currently a gender fluid penguin. That's what I am. I want to be a gender fluid penguin. So I'm a gender fluid penguin. That's what I am tonight.
If you, as long as you're not affecting a minor or doing anything that's going to be influentially, you know, hurting another individual, and it's all like freedom of choice. Do you know what I mean? I don't care. I really don't care. I just don't care. But my issues is when, again, it comes to this whole thing about imposing a view on other people and stating or stipulating. I think, yeah, if you want to make it aware and people should know about these things, whatever. But I still have it questionable in my mind that children are still developing up to the age of 7. That's when they get their own.
Absolutely.
And I can honestly say that from my experience, just like from fostering and when we've had to go on courses and learning about how the brain works and things like that. And the thing about saying you can't influence a child is absolute. I'm not going to swear, but it's true.
Well, you can swear if you like. I swear a lot, so I won't worry about it. It's a load of bollocks.
A child's brain is still developing, and this is why it's so difficult. You know, when you're talking about, say, Prince Andrew, so on and so forth, you know, the Epstein thing, you know, paedophilia, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When a child is interfered with from very young up to the age of 7, they learn to, it's hard to kind of unpick and undo all of the damage that has been done and what they can therefore go on to do.
Yeah.
And to then kind of change how they perceive that. Now, I'm not trying to suggest in any way that every child, because it's not true, goes on to be like that or behave like that. But there are a proportion amount of children that do go on to be offenders. But they are usually those that have been from kind of a very young age, sort of like very young. And when you're saying you can't influence a child or saying that, you know, their sexuality can be tampered with, yes, it can.
Of course it can.
Absolutely.
Because they're learning. Debbie Johnson says...
Yeah, and when you start projecting onto a child, I'm not saying that it's not wrong that they shouldn't understand about gay, bisexual, homosexual, heterosexual, whatever. I think it's right that people should be aware of these things. There's nothing wrong with that if that's a choice.
Yeah, but it does. It does come to the point of where when you teach the children that, though, I don't believe that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9-year-olds should be taught about anything like that.
They should be innocent.
Yes.
They should. It's that age of innocence, and children should be allowed to develop and express and learn in
because they grow up too
way.
quick anyway. The mechanism what we live in these days, children at 8 or 9 want to be 15 and 16. Children that are 12, 13 want to be 20. You know, this is the mentality of where we sit. Debbie Johnson answers your question just now. Children are sponges. They learn everything from their parents, too young to make their own decisions till later on. Absolutely right.
Well, the interesting thing is what she's saying about, like, you know, from us, like, can decide what they want to be. There is a big thing about, I know there are those people that do struggle from a very young age, like with the transgender thing. Yeah. But I still think there's that support mechanism in place. And I think you've got to think about kids. And I had a big think about this a little while ago. And you think nowadays, and it's kind of like two ways of thinking about it, is we change massively from the time we're sort of 13, 14, thinking we want to be 16, 18, don't we?
Yeah.
But when you're 18 to the age of, say, 21 to 25, we change again.
Yeah.
Then we change in our mid-30s, and then we go up to our 40s, and we change how we see things all again. It's like a cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
We grow, we develop, we change and run. But how can you say at 18 years old that it's okay to necessarily make that big leap of change with your hormones, your body, and everything else? And our brain.
Well, and you're also in a psychologically rebellious place with yourself as well. So nothing's level.
But especially, like they say, don't they? Especially males, the brains don't develop fully until the age of 21.
Yeah, I don't think mine has actually at all, to be honest.
But we do, and so we change, and then, like they're saying, you're changing again. So it's to go through that huge change, that transition.
Yeah.
Who's to say later on, especially when you think if it was the female going the other way, like what about if you want to have a baby or all of those things? It's a huge thing, and I don't know. I just think. I
think it's a massive subject, to be honest, and one that
and I think it would be more fairer, I guess, somebody who's been through that or has been around it. But it's just another opinion. But but I still think children should be left alone.
I agree. I agree. I absolutely agree. And obviously one of the most important factors, up until 5 years old, they are actually themselves, which means that they're not have any external interference, only the family they're living in. And then they go to school and then they lose an identity until later on when they wake up. But they need to be educated in the ways of what we do on this planet. Jason McCusborough says, absolutely right. Children should be allowed to be. I'll tell you what, Tanya, you've been amazing. We've actually spoken for 40 minutes. You know that? That's absolutely immense. You've been absolutely incredible. You really have. We haven't spoke about what you do in card reading at all, but it doesn't matter.
We don't care about that.
if people want to get hold of you, how do they do that, Tanya?
Well, they can go onto my Facebook page. As I say, and it is just put my name in. It's Tanya, and then my surname's Rima. Or they can go onto their Healing Hands, put my name in, and Healing Hands on there. And as I say, I do my tarot spreads on there. I've got horoscope stuff on there. So it's stuff that's like free that I post up. And if they wanted to have a reading, they can also get hold of me. And I do private readings on the side of that as well. So
brilliant. And when you're not doing that, you do a key holder role in looking after mentally handicapped or autistic people, children as well, which is immense, and well done for doing it. You have been phenomenal, Tanya. You've never been on this show before. You've been fantastic.
Well, thank you very much.
Stay tuned. Do you have unless you have to go to work, or you say you're going to work very soon, because I've got Simon Heathcote on next, who is a psychoanalyst and has worked at the Priory and all manner of different things. So it'd be very interesting.
Oh wow, yeah, I was going to have a look at them a little while ago, the Priory.
Yeah, somebody wanted me to go in there at some point.
Oh wow!
No, I'm joking.
I'm going to say nothing on that one.
Yeah. That's probably the best thing.
I'll see you there soon.
Yeah, I'll see you. Yeah, soon. Yeah, I'm on Ward B. All right, I'm the one with the bars on the window. Debbie Johnson says, wow guest. That's what you are, a wow guest.
Oh,
You've been amazing.
Well, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and where has it gone? It's vanished, hasn't it?
It has. I didn't realise you've been on that long.
I know. Well, we've done your 2 guests in one tonight. See?
Oh wow! Well, I'd stay on and chat if I didn't have to go to work.
I know. But if you get chance to listen to Simon Heathcott, he's up next. Or if you don't, you can always catch this on my wall. You can share it onto your wall, your interview and everything that as well, because it will be shared from tonight. So
Oh well, thank you very much, Clint. It's been absolutely lovely.
It's been immense.
Thank you for having me on.
I'm really grateful to have you on, and you've been a really amazing guest. Thank you very much, Tanya.
No, I've enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
All right. No problem.
You take care, and I'll carry on listening to what he's got to say as well.
Yeah, and good luck tonight, and don't work too hard, all right?
I'll try not to.
And I'll see you in the Priory.
Yeah, tomorrow.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye. What an amazing guest. Tanya Weimer. Never been on the show before. Unfortunately, Ruck wasn't on tonight. That's our UK. But I had a feeling he might not be because he hadn't come back to me. He was keen for it, but we will get him on a later date. What an amazing guest. Thank you very much, Debbie Johnson, for what you said. The well guest. Absolutely phenomenal. We have got coming up next. Simon, he's actually not coming up next. He's coming up now. I love that ringtone. It's really, really good. What we've got here is Mr. Simon Heathcott. Hopefully on the other end of the line. Hello, Simon. Are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey, how are you, Simon? I was really looking forward to you coming on tonight. I don't know. You were listening to some of that. What an amazing guest she was, wasn't she?
I was listening. Yeah, you covered quite a smorgasbord of subjects, haven't you?
Absolutely, Hugh. But that's what we do. That's what we do. And I have no script. I have no questions.
You're winging it.
Well, that's what I do every week. That's what you do. I'm a very spiritual person. Been working in it for 40 years, and I'm told do this show and tell people, your truth of what you believe, so that they can attach some truth to it themselves. So there's a rolling matter, if you like.
I think you're right, Clint. Just to be spontaneous and let what comes come.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no boundaries on this show. We do tend to swear a bit sometimes and all manner of different things.
Well, listen, mate. I'm not a gender fluid penguin, but I think we'll get on.
Yeah.
Well, not tonight.
I'll just tell everyone out there, Simon Heathcock is actually, it'd be very interesting because he's probably going to look in my brain as I'm talking to him, what's left of it, to be honest. He's a psychotherapist and healer who has developed a unique way of working, drawn on Jungian concepts, mysticism, archetypal psychology to help return clients to essence or deep soul. And he specializes in relationship addiction. That's a very interesting statement that I'm going to come to him in a minute. An award-winning writer, former newspaper editor and Broad Street travel writer. He underwent a profound inner journey of meditation, which he brings to his work. Simon trained at Broadway Lodge, Britain's first specialist addiction treatment centre, and worked at the Priory at Roehampton, specialising in the treatment of sex and love addiction. Welcome along to you, young man. And it's a privilege to have you on the show. And it's fantastic to have you here.
Invited me.
And, where do we start? My God, it's such a broad range of things to talk about there. But obviously...
I've kind of thought life should be interesting, not just this. The idea, Clint, that I should have... I was a newspaper editor when I was about 33, and I could see this future ahead of me into newspaper management, and it filled me with horror.
Yeah, and, your hair's turning white, and you're getting out the scotch every night.
Well, and everybody hates you when you're a newspaper editor. The public hate you, the staff hate you, and the management hates you. So it wasn't very conducive to the kind of life I wanted to live.
And that was when you're 33. I'm not going to ask how you old are now, but obviously
I'll tell you, I'm 58.
You're 50. Well, you're the same age as me, actually.
Wow.
I'm 58 as well. And I look probably a lot older than that, really. But but you were there at 33, and you came to a decision. You thought, this end for me, I can you got an intuition, you've got a bite inside yourself, thinking, oh, this ain't going to work for me.
I would say it was stronger than that, Clint. I would say it was much stronger than an intuition. I would say I was dying. That's how I would put it.
With the pressure and everything else, and the psychological pressure as well in what you're under with that job as well.
Well, there was that. I mean, you get the local councillors and all those politicians coming to you, and they're all wanting this, wanting that, and it's deadly dull for one thing. And
yeah, it's like, oh my God, not them again.
It was, the other thing, it was really, it was like my soul was dying, and it wanted to live, and it wanted to breathe, and I think the nature of the soul is freedom. And when you can see your future stretching out before you, it doesn't exactly feel freeing.
No, you feel hemmed in, and you feel like you're on a cattle train.
Exactly.
And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because I've worked in environments, not obviously newspapers, but environments like yourself. Even though I've been doing this 40 years, and it gets to the point you think, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I want to go out there, and it is about faith. It's about belief, and this is the massive transition you had, obviously, because when inside you thought, I'm getting out of this rat race. I'm not talking to these boring people anymore. I have more substance and depth to me than that.
Exactly.
And you have a part of your past that needs to come here in this reality to help people. And then you obviously went through a massive transition.
Well, I when I was editing 3 newspapers in the Midlands, and
wow, 3.
At the same time, they load the work on you. But at the same time, I was driving an 80-mile round trip twice a week to do my initial training in counselling. So I was very committed to change, and I really wanted to help people. In a way, I was helping people in newspapers, but it wasn't at the emotionally satisfying level that I wanted. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't satisfying me.
So you eventually you thought, well, you wait until you got that, and you got it, and then you thought, well, now, because obviously psychology is parapsychology. I was going to say psychology is a massive subject, isn't it, in relation to helping people in lots of different areas, isn't it?
Sure. It is a big subject, and for me, one of the things, and I put it on my website, a kind of mission that I have is to restore soul to psychology, because psychology means study of the soul. Psyche is soul.
I agree
but
with you.
We don't have any soul in psychology anymore, which is ludicrous to me. It's like, if something's called something, why don't we do it? It's like I always say to clients, you're not called a human doing, you're called a human being.
Yes.
Why not try being it? And of course, these things are always hidden in plain sight, but we don't see them. So for me, it was about restoring soul.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. Can I just say that Linda is listening right now and says, wow, what an amazing guest. By you just started, and they're already saying, wow, what an amazing guest.
Maybe it'll get better. We hope.
I do know, because obviously in the work I do, I have regular people come back, and I do have some people that work in the realms of psychology that come along for readings or guidance or life skills or whatever you want to call it, or catch up for some sanity, if you like, at times, where they particularly work from the soul level. And we've had many conversations when you work with anyone, when they have, because, as there's a lot of big things to talk about here, but one of them obviously is that when you have people come to you, it's not necessarily about what they're in. It's about the entanglements they have inside themselves, or the functioning being shut down within them that needs to be restarted with inside their soul. They have to go back to themselves.
Well, that's exactly right. And, it's funny, just before I came on the call, I was working with a client tonight in another country, and it was very much looking at those inner conflicts. And, most of the people over 25 years of doing this now, Clint, what I see is that, and it's interesting with the current world crisis that we're in, is that most
I was going to come on to that.
I know you are. Most people are not themselves. They're not being themselves.
No, they're not.
They don't know how to be themselves, because they're chock full of conditioning. Now, it starts in the family. It goes, as you mentioned, into schools and society. But most people, if you filled them up from the top of the head with water, it'd be 90% of them would be full of conditioning. You know, and people don't know, of course, and unusually the word Jesus is going to be mentioned again now. It was already been mentioned once tonight, and I'm not a Christian, but Jesus said, "Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do." And what he was talking about was unconsciousness, and that's what we're talking about really at the moment, I believe, in what's going on with this virus and everything, what governments are doing. We're talking about. And I used to work with boarding school survivors, guys who worked.
And of course, you're on the other side as well because you're in newspapers.
Yeah. I was in newspapers, yeah.
So, you know, I'm not saying that things would be exaggerated or not talked about, but I'm sure I'm not far from the truth.
Well, I think what you notice, and I notice it if I watch the BBC News, which I don't anymore very often, except for a laugh. But what I notice is that when I watch it, I feel dulled. And in newspapers, I have the same feeling that, you know, working with psychotherapy clients, you're looking at content, what people say, but more importantly, you're looking at the process. What does it feel like? What are people not saying? You know, what's the underlying undercurrent of what's happening within them? And I'm I hope, good at picking that up. And certainly in newspapers, you pick up that you're working in a strata of consciousness that just isn't very awake.
Yeah.
You know, where people see the world in black and white. And if you present some of the ideas that you and I know about to them, they can't, through cognitive dissonance, they can't actually get what you're talking about. And so for me, that was very frustrating and limiting. I do not want to be around people who don't get what I'm talking about.
No, I agree. And it comes down to broadening your horizons and open up the unknown we know, in a way, within inside ourselves. And
that's right.
People get bogged down in reality through the dire bilge of mass media populism in television, in how they think they should live their life, how they look. And we had a conversation just now about gender fluids and all sorts, and you know, boys being girls and girls being boys and all sorts, and even down to the hates and the aggression within people, which actually is sparked by inherent historical documentation that's been imprinted on their mind, their brain.
Exactly, and it's not even personal, you know. And I think the problem is, you know, I noticed as soon as the internet arrived, seeing these threads where people are attacking each other in about 3 nanoseconds because they have a different opinion.
Yeah, but they do it. They wouldn't do it to their face. Twitter is the worst. I won't go on Twitter. Twitter is the worst. What people say to people on Twitter is absolutely venomous. It's horrible. It's disgusting.
It's vile. Somehow people feel they have permission to sort of suddenly let it out. But I find that, again, the problem is, you see, people take it personally, but it's not personal. It's the collective unconscious at work. It's all the unconsciousness that would bring about things like slavery. It's you know, I work with astrology, so I would say it's not personal, it's transpersonal.
Yeah.
You know, it's a part of the individual that is chock full of generational attitudes and beliefs which aren't even their own, which are unquestioned.
Yeah. And as I said before, which I feel is quite a right statement, is the fact that we also psychologically, we have to look at, it's all right, all these people doing what they're doing, actually running amok, basically, at the moment, most of them, doing whatever they want to do, really, and they're standing up in the name of certain things. But with inside themselves, what they're doing, they're people that have gone through psychological damage by being locked up, suppressed, and held back, aren't they?
Well, that's right. And now there's.
And then you open the gate, and they're all out.
Well, that's right. Which is hardly surprising, is it? And also, as we've been saying, it's also a great distraction from whatever else is going on.
Yes, yes, which we know is many other things that are not talked about at all.
Right. That's right.
And obviously, one of the bow. I mean, you're going to be a busy man anyway. Are you a busy man anyway? But you'll be even busier with this bow wave of people when they finally come out of their enforced, enslaved prison cell of their box. When they come out, and then they have the relationship problem because they've been with someone all their life, or they've been with someone for a long time, and they find actually they don't like each other because they don't really spend much time with each other normally, or they might be the total opposite. But you know, then you find that you know, you're going to have the enormous bow wave of socially infected people from being in it.
Well, that's right. And you know, talking about people not liking each other, it brings us into that subject of the sex and love addiction, because often
I was coming to that. I'm slowly weaving my path to that way.
Yeah, it's a neat segue because, you know, a lot of people who are in toxic relationships and have fallen madly in love with someone, and usually they fall in love with complementary parts of themselves that they feel they're missing and they see in the other. They often wake up after the initial honeymoon period and realize they didn't like the person.
Yeah.
And they never bother getting to know who they really are, but they've fallen in love with their projection, of course.
Yeah.
Which many of us have done, including myself.
Yes, I completely understand what you're saying, and can I just say before I carry on with that, Debbie Johnson, who's watching, listening tonight, says, "I believe Simon will be able to help me. Someone I love unconditionally needs help, and we have been searching for 3 years. I know this is right." Well, he'll give his details later on. So, sorry,
we can give some details later, I guess.
Yeah. Of course, absolutely. I totally agree because, I mean, in a way, and I'm not trying to belittle what you do in any shape or form. I'm trying to give it credence in what I'm about to say. Sure. What I do as a reader, which I've been doing for 40 years, and you are more than a reader, as most people out there know, with themselves being readers or whatever, is the fact that you are not just a reader. You're not just psychically looking at things that are happening for them. You become a life coach, a counselor. You don't become a psychiatrist or anything like that, because there are very definitive boundaries in how we deal with people, because people want to come along and get fixed. I mean, it's the same as you. And I'm not belittling what you do at all, because I do feel, I'm not saying I do what you do, but in lots of ways there are similarities in what we do, because you, in a way, bring in your ethics and understanding from the spiritual based soul that you carry. So you're coming from a different place. And I know other people that do that work in your field as well. So they're going straight to the person inside rather than pussyfooting around them and giving them tablets. Do you know what I mean? So they can get results and get the person, getting the car back on the road, basically. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I think it's you know, as someone once wrote, you know, enlightenment is it's not an easy process, because we're talking about waking up, aren't we? And we're waking up to those parts of ourselves that maybe we don't want to look at, that we have judgments about, and it's, you know, my experience is the road gets narrower, and people in therapy usually come in and they want to feel better straight away, and I usually have to explain to them, you're probably going to feel worse first. Yeah. Because if there isn't a quick fix, it getting to know yourself, you know, there isn't a quick healing. In my view, you know, that's not how I work anyway. Yeah. You know, self-knowledge and self-awareness takes time. It takes insight. It takes hard work often. And I think above all, it takes being willing to become displeasing to yourself, which most people are not willing to do, to look at the part of them that maybe is a bit of an evil bastard or whatever. You know, that takes some guts. And, you know, I'm linking it to the sort of the people who are running this country at the moment. I don't think they've ever really become displeasing to themselves and had some realistic humility. If they could do that, we would be looking at something different. But we would be looking at a prime minister that they have in New Zealand that actually goes on a gay pride march. That's right. That's right. But I'm sure she hasn't been through the horrible boarding school system that some of these guys are. No. Give them a bit of slack for a minute. But, you know, and I think colleagues that I know work with boarding school survivors, and I certainly have as well. You see the damage of. I remember working with one guy who could see his home from his boarding house window, and thought, why don't they want me there? Yeah, and I've worked with a couple of people who are in the same situation, and the devastation that wrought on these people was unbelievable. You know, why don't they love me enough to want me at home when it's 100 yards, 20 yards away? Yeah. So there's massive damage in these people like Boris Johnson that is so walled off, and in Donald Trump, they're never going to look at it in a million light years. Yeah, but you could almost, in a way, I'm gonna throw it as a curveball, if you like. But I mean, in a way, Number 10 and his party is like a boarding school, isn't it? Because I would say, and I mention his name again. I can't stand the bloke, to be honest. But Dominic Cummings is the eccentric bully, isn't he? Seems that way. It seems that way. He doesn't seem like a very pleasant piece of work, does he? And for some reason, he's been given carte blanche to run amok. Yes, and destroy basically. The country. And Boris can't seem to do anything without him.
which
well,
is
this is
bonkers.
where Boris would need to do some psychotherapy work on his relationship with his dad, and whatever happened.
Yes.
Why he needs to play the clown.
Yes. Yeah.
There's
absolutely.
something going on there that's not right.
And the fact that psychologically, we'll come back to relationships, sex in a minute, but psychologically, the damage that just that one incident with Dominic Cummings and the credibility of that man, Boris Johnson, where he just wants to be liked. He wants to be a buffoon. He just wants to make sure everyone's happy. He's not really interested in hardball, diplomatic talks. He's not one of those. He runs away from it. He's not interested in that. He's scared. You know what I mean? And
you're right. I think like Trump, he wants to be loved.
Yes, just wants to be liked. And that's Boris. He's lovely. Yeah, Boris. He's lovely. Yeah. But everyone in the media are epitomizing these people as cretins.
Sorry, I missed that last word.
Everyone's epitomizing these people in the media as cretins, because they are. They're above. They're in a new level of lunacy.
Well, I think it's complicated, isn't it? Because I think Boris likes to play the buffoon, but we know at another level he's very intelligent. So there's a manipulation involved in it as well.
Yeah, and he always ruffles his hair up before he goes on camera as well, because that's all about his image.
That doesn't surprise me. So there's
not that I know that, Simon. I've never stood with him when he's done it, but I've been told.
You didn't stand behind him and ruffle his hair, did you?
No, I didn't. No. I'd want to have some therapy if I did that. I tell you.
Well, you might catch something.
Yeah. You don't know what's living in it.
No. But I think he's messed up. He's mixed up, and there's a lot of damage done early in life in people like that, and they really need some help. The problem is, instead of turning inwards towards themselves, they turn out and think the answer's in the world. Well, it isn't. More power, more success, more money is not going to heal you. No, I'm afraid.
No, it isn't. What you have to do, you know this yourself, and I'm not telling you how suckers by any means. I know because of where I've been. You have to lose everything to then feel to have something, because you can't have everything and everything on top of everything. Do you know what I mean?
No, rock bottom's very good for people, I think.
Yes, it gives a reevaluation, and it comes down to, again, those two words, belief and magic, that I use a lot. Because if you believe, you survive, and we've all been pulled to points. We've all been pulled to points in our time, which have been very difficult, very hazardous. It's been treacherous. We don't know what to do, don't know what way to turn. We have to turn inward into ourselves to hold that belief, because we find immense strength and vitality and understanding within there to help us get over those obstacles that after you think, how do I do that?
Yeah. You have to develop resilience, don't you? And I think hitting a rock bottom and surviving it can develop an enormous resilience in a person.
I want to come back now to relationships, because we divert a little bit, but we do that. Unfortunately, I do that.
That's good. I like it.
And you're probably doing. I'm very worried you might be doing a psychoanalyst evaluation on me as we're speaking.
I wouldn't be so unprofessional, Clint.
No, I know. There's no hope for me. I know. But
I don't know. We'll book an appointment.
We might be there a long time. It might have to be over very many beers.
Well, I'm sure we could work something out.
Yeah. Go into relationships. I mean, the classic case, and I know everyone out there, what I'm about to say, will understand that work in the realms of what I work in, and you'll understand as well, because you find it more and more. And this is about the people that supposedly go into a relationship and it's very nice and it's all very lovely, and then they change, because actually they become a wolf in sheep's clothing. Do you know what I mean? Where they turn into that word that's used a lot these days, a narcissist. In other words, they see the weakness within the person they're with. They prey on their sensitivity, their compassion, their understanding, and they utilize them. And it's a bit like tuning a car for their own gain. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Sure,
that is rife in this reality, which I'm just, let me say this bit and I'll let you speak, is the fact that I feel that this is not about, it's not just about sticking plasters on something that's here. I'm all for change, but change has to happen from a root core essence. And the root core essence, it has to begin not just at home, but in school. People in school need to know when they're older what a relationship is and how you have one, and what the repercussions of certain things that could happen within that relationship. Because to be wise and understood, when I went to school, you go to school and you come out and that's it. You're not told. When I went to school, they didn't tell you anything about what life is out here. Do you know what I mean?
Well, as we're the same age, I pretty much had the same experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Well, I agree with you, and I wish this stuff was taught. It isn't. I think things may be getting better from what I hear, but my kids are grown up, so I don't really know. But although I did become a grandfather 2 weeks ago for the first time.
Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you very much.
But it's not just. It is about root cause, and it is about, if you want to be dynamic, direct, different, bring something different to the table, not the tried and tested, not the rubbish that we have right now. In school, yes, teach them what they need to know to better themselves, but teach them the basics of themselves. In reality, when you leave this place, potentially you could have a whole curriculum on what you do out there. I did social studies at school, which was a little bit like that, how to write a check and things like that. But it wasn't about the emotional understanding inside. And also in there needs to be meditation in schools. And in there also is, I'm being told off by Alyssa at the moment to say let Simon speak. I will do, but I'll put this last one in because I'm winging my way into sex as well, because half the problems in our reality is the fact that we're sexual beings, and we go through exploration, which is we hold massive guilt complexes because you end up which you do the exploring yourself through masturbation and things like that. You then go to school and they tell you, and people tell you, oh, don't do that, it's terrible and all sorts of that, and that's horrible and that's not right. And you go to school and they teach you in sex education, you must give this to someone else. And technically, they don't teach any of that in school either.
Well, that's right. I mean, what we're really talking about is teaching consciousness, aren't we? We're talking about helping people become conscious, helping people become aware that they're conscious beings. That's what we really need to teach. But I think the problem is, how do we do that when we've got a system that is, by its very nature, conscious? Yes. It's very, very difficult. And teachers who are also not particularly conscious, most of them. So how is that going to work? I mean, it does need to happen. But the question is, the whole system needs to change.
Don't you feel that what we're in right now, in this transition,
it's the root that needs to change, isn't it? I mean, we've got to pull this thing out by the root.
Yes.
And it's no good tinkering with the branches. If we want to tinker with the branches, we're not going to get very far. But we have to see that the very nature of what it is to be a human being needs to be understood and questioned. And that's what I was saying about often telling clients that you're called a human being, not a human doing, because there is a misapprehension of what a human being is. And so we start on a faulty basis. Now, if we start on a faulty basis, we're going to have a faulty result at the end of the day. So I think there's that. But going to the question of narcissism, people talk a lot, of course, now about narcissism. If we put a line for mental health, we would have neurotics, or what we call codependents, at one end, and we'd have narcissists at the other end. And the narcissist is very attracted to the codependent personality because they can feed off them, because the codependent's a giver. So the narcissist is looking for a feed always. They're looking to suck up your energy.
Yeah.
Because they're energy vampires. Now, that could take us down the rabbit hole, couldn't it, Clint, into Satanism and child abuse?
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing. It's about sucking up people's energy.
Yeah.
So narcissists are about being empty on the inside and sucking up someone's energy to fill yourself up. The problem is the emptiness is a black hole and there's never enough. So, once you've sucked the energy out of one codependent, you want another one.
Yeah.
So it goes on ad infinitum. And, the thing is, we have to be careful here, because we can end up blaming the narcissist, which we've got a country run by them at the moment. But we have to also look at the codependent and say, if you're codependent, as I'd say I would be on that broad spectrum, we have to look at, what is it that's behavior from the narcissist is teaching us? Well, they're teaching us about self-love, aren't they? They're teaching us to stop giving our power away to them, withdraw our energy into ourselves, look at what it is we're trying to get from them that they can't give, and, wise up and see that we're trying to get blood from a stone. And it's an absolutely futile mission. And what we've got to do is turn it round back to ourselves and begin to do the work of self-healing and repair and becoming conscious of what happened to us as children. All of that stuff is the gift of the narcissist.
Yeah. And obviously within, and the problem is that these people make it that you are glued to them in a way. So they will make sure that you are completely dependent upon them, because, I have people that I speak to, I've spoken to, and I'm sure you have people. This person I haven't seen for 3 years, but I love him still and I want him back. But he's moved on. Do you know what I mean? He's moved on to another fresh victim. Do you know what I mean? And he's left a devastating hole. And within that place, that is the rebuilding process that you have to go through.
That's right.
And that is a very difficult place for a lot of people to be, because, again, going into the consciousness and the mind and the soul of what we are within inside, we have a battle with ourselves. And that battle is between brain, third dimensional reality, and environment and historical knowledge and everything else that was shown, and the soul and fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 10th dimensional knowledge we have inside ourselves.
Yes, I mean, I'm thinking about it in astrological terms as you were speaking, and the 8th house of astrology is where you would locate the battle between ego and soul.
Yeah.
And again, working with the client tonight, it's very much about that. In evolutionary astrology, we look at Pluto as the soul, and we are questioned, Pluto, what's it going to serve? Is it going to serve the ego or the soul? Because whichever you choose is going to create the destiny of your life. And, the Pluto is very much about power and control and obsession in its shadow form, and is enormously powerful. But if you put that at the service of the soul, you have a massive transformation. But if you put it at the service of the ego, you have massive destruction in your relationship with yourself and others. Yeah. So I'm saying the same thing as you, but in a different language.
In a different way. But I do feel what's really interesting, and this comes down to the fact that I say to people, you are, at the moment, you are everything you've been in all lives up until this point, because you have been. Because, that depends, of course, if you believe in reincarnation and things like that. But our souls live on. If we're lucky, we live 90 years, and we're a speck of dust on the floor. It's nothing. It's a tiny segment of space and time. And that's why you've got to grasp everything and go for everything you can possibly do, and be whatever you want to be in this reality. And when all the negative traits of I can't, I don't know, how do I do it, all those things, all answers exist within that soul. Because in a way, and I'm going to really be a bit spinny here, but the fact is that, how do you know you haven't actually walked this path already before? So you're just really catching up on what you knew anyway, but trying to do it in a different way.
Well, some people do say it's a spiral path, don't they?
Yeah.
So, you may well be going across old ground in a new way, or with different faces. I agree with that totally, and it's I mean, I really agree with you. It's what we're really seeing. I think, so I was trying to remember what I was going to say, but what occurred to me when you were speaking about this, this moment in time, this life is just a blip. You kind of said that. Well, I think we need to remember that and wake up to that when we're all getting fear-driven at the moment with this alleged coronavirus.
Yeah.
We're immortal beings. We're here having an experience. At the moment, it's a tough experience. However, if we limit ourselves to believing there's just this fragile little human body that lives in fear, we're doomed. We've got to find that awareness that we're something far, far greater.
Yeah. And don't
what the media is telling us.
Wouldn't you reevaluate that also? I mean, when in the darkest days, when things have been very barren and very bad and things, and because all of us go through it, you know, in one shape or form. I always look at the fact that I don't go into a poor me and a victim mode or whatever. The first thing I think about, and that is with any negativity that ever comes to me, which are hardly any these days now because it's all gone. But it is, I used to and still do remind people very, very quickly the fact when they sit in a place that it seems insurmountable, where things are actually not going their way, where they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what to do and they're in a mess. I tell them that is the point of massive change for you, because the only way, as you said already, when you're taken down for nothing to nothing, you can only go one way. Well, you can go the other way, but most people go the right way. But
they do.
To put it in a realism picture, everyone that's suffering in lots of different ways, the way I look at it is the fact that I don't live in Syria, where I'm potentially being bombed every night. I don't live in Africa, where I have to travel 10 miles to get dirty water. You know, these are the things that unfortunately, because I have a broader spectrum, because I care about what goes on in the world and the people of this world, the fact that, you know, you can't get into that tiny bubble, because in that contained space, you are the hamster on the wheel, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was writing an article the other day, and there was a quote I put at the beginning from Krishna, who said, "To the one who follows the religion of their own true nature, something like all your needs will be met." And for me, you know, you mentioned the M word earlier, meditation. For me, the meditation is the most important thing we can do to help ourselves move out from this awareness of this limited reality into a far greater reality of what and who we really are. You know, I think most people know that they are, but they don't necessarily know what they are. And I think meditation is vital to waking up, to our soul.
Yeah, and that is immediately going into a meditation state, and I also call it into the watery zone between sleep and awake, really, just before you go to sleep, because we're more active asleep than when we are awake anyway. And the fact we're in deep conscious states and dimensional states and parallel lives and different things. But in relation to going into that meditative state, this is what people don't realize, and you know yourself. If we stop and we don't think about all of those things, and we stop and look into ourselves, then we can look into the mirror rather than the back of the mirror. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think I saw something on Facebook the other day where it said how to get rid of coronavirus. And there's a picture of people throwing a TV out the window.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that's great.
It is like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, does it exist if we're, you know, does a tree fall in the woods if we can't hear it? You know.
Yes. So, yeah. Absolutely.
What's really going on? Yeah.
So in your work, I mean, obviously people are going to be very interested in what I'm about to say, and in what you say and all sorts, because we spoke about a lot of different things. And Debbie Johnson says, "Be grateful for all we have. Trust in the universe going through what you have described hard, but I trust." And that's very true. Yeah. And however dark and doomy and gloomy it is, and the only reason I did this show was I just wanted to tell people a truth, my truth, if you like. It might not be your truth, but it might cement something inside you to look at something, to open yourself up.
Yeah,
it's about freedom of speech, because there's nothing like this on any media platform whatsoever. In relation to your work, Simon, and what you do, I don't know how you can do this, but can you give a brief overview of how you when somebody comes to you, how you would deal with that? And I know it would depend on what situation you're in, but how you convey yourself. I mean, it's not a case of you walk into your place and you go and lay on a couch, I should imagine, is it?
No, I mean, you know, obviously at the moment, anyway, most of the work's online.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And
how have you found that?
Reasonably well. Pardon?
How have you found that online?
I prefer sitting with someone, because I think as a psychotherapist you can pick up much more of subtleties and the nuances which you need really to understand that person's process. But online is more veering towards coaching than therapy, I would say.
Yeah.
Although it can work well with some people. Yeah, I mean, I find it okay. I'm used to doing it now, Clint, to be honest.
Yeah. But I know what you mean, because social interaction, it's about energies. Yeah. It's about frequency, vibration, and energy. Because, you know, I know for a fact, because I spoke to somebody else that works in your field, that comes to me from time to time, and they said that there's nothing like somebody being in the room where the intention of what you carry can be fully transmitted to them in their acceptance of receiving it, because it's not necessarily what you say, it's what you do, isn't it? What energies are going on.
Very much so. And if I think about describing my job, it's really, my job is to feel what the client can't feel.
Yeah.
You know, for me to pick up, you know, emotionally and physically, and in their energy field, what is it they're feeling that they're not conscious of? And can I translate it back to them in a way that's helpful? So that, in essence, is what it is. You know, I need to be able to tune in and feel what's going on with them, and then I can kind of put it to them in ways that makes it acceptable, when previously they may have repressed it, and they will have done so for reasons. So it's just about helping the unconscious become conscious.
Yeah.
And in a way, I would say to people, the most important thing is the container. You know, a plant doesn't grow in the wrong soil or the wrong pot, and a human being doesn't grow, as we know from our childhoods, in an environment that is not conducive to growth. It contracts and shrinks. So my main thing is to create an energy field and a container where people feel loved and safe enough to trust me and to talk and to start to remember things that maybe they haven't remembered for a very, very long time, that may be critical for their healing, their awakening. So I usually try and start by doing the evolutionary astrology profile, because in that I can see what the soul's intending, what it's trying to achieve in recent lifetimes, where that's been blocked. So that's enormously useful to do that big chunk of work first. And then, you know, we've got some ground to kind of build on.
Yeah.
But people don't have to do that. They can just come and talk if they want to. But it's quite deep work. I mean, I've spent the last 5 years working for, you know, one of the world's top retreat agencies here in Somerset, and you know, really doing very, very deep work with people. So my work's quite deep. It's not normal. It's not your normal kind of therapy in a way. I mean, I spent quite a few years doing past life work with the late Roger Walter doing his training, and so my interests are pretty eclectic, and it really came about, Clint, because when I was working at the Priory, I noticed in London, that where I was for 10 years, that we get people coming back, you know, come into treatment, fall out of treatment, come back again, and a lot of the staff would get very pissed off with them and say, oh, they think they're special and different. And I'd always think, well, instead of blaming the client, let's have a think about maybe the institution is not really equipped to deal with them. And so I started talking about doing lectures about the nature of the soul and the soul's journey, and I noticed a lot of these clients started to wake up.
Yeah.
And they started to say, oh, now you've provided a context which actually makes sense to me. I'm not just this dirty addict. You know, there's something deeper going on. There's reasons for this, and it may not even be in this lifetime. It may be in another lifetime. So that, I think, when you provide a context to people, it gives them back a sense of dignity, and it allows them to start to really, when they felt misunderstood all their lives, to see that maybe the container was wrong before, not them.
Yeah.
And I think that's very helpful.
Yeah. I agree. And some of this goes even deeper into the fact that, you know, many people before they're reincarnated here, their souls are really deciding whether to come here, because they've been here before. Maybe they don't want to come back here. And if they come back here, and the lessons from their past life is one where they're going to go through a lot of pain and torture, they would come into a family that don't really love them or know how to deal with them. Do you know what I mean?
I went through that. Yeah, I went through that experience myself.
So did I, in lots of ways as well, and more. And you know, a teacher, because I look at you as a spiritual teacher as well as what you do in your work, is, you know, it's sink or swim, isn't it? We we run with it, and we go into the deep shallows where we find it difficult to get out. And then we find some land to stand on, and then we find a purpose within inside ourselves. What we're going to. I didn't know at 10 years old or 15 that I'd be doing this. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. And you didn't know that either. And we go through what you would call stage breaks, where I look at it as your soul is taken off and rebuilt, basically to be put back in right. And that could be through trauma, through birth, or it could be through trauma with inside yourself, how you disengage your soul from you. And I went through a nervous breakdown when I was 18 years old for a year, with panic attacks and all manner of different things. Couldn't go out. Up to that point, I was as quiet as a church mouse. I was scared of people. And then when that process was done, I come out the other side at 19, and I wanted to go out and tell people all sorts of things I had in my head. And
I think the other thing is about meeting like souls, isn't it?
Yes.
When you feel you're an alien in your own family, and you actually start to you come across the odd person who's like a teacher to you, or mate who actually gets you. I mean, it's incredible.
Earth Angel.
Someone actually understands me.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of us have been brought up in these families who, like mine were, when my mother's family came from India and fled. My mother was a missionary's daughter in India and fled 3 weeks after Gandhi was killed in fear of their lives. So God knows what the damage that did to her.
Yeah.
My father was an Irish Catholic born in the workhouse and adopted by an English couple. So, they both had their stories and I think and the damage. And of course, that damage gets passed on. And then we have to do the work of kind of, I call it mutating the family tree. Someone's got to do something differently.
Yeah.
Family's going to grow.
Yeah. But the key fact is what you've said already, not just about the soul, but the one word which people tend to forget, and that is called the experience. Good, bad, or indifferent, we're here to experience.
That's
and
right.
We're here to learn.
Experience, exactly.
That's the key. We're here to learn. People that won't accept learning will find that their experience will not be as good, because they're constantly spirit, that whatever you want to call it, the mechanism of the soul is directly linked through frequency vibration to the universe itself, to what I would call your people that are out there, the soul builders, if you like, that are watching over, and you can call them teachers, you can call them whatever you like, but they are people that surround you and work in a way that's very subtle. But they're the people that give you deja vu. They're the people that give you coincidence. They're the people that suddenly, bing, something comes in your head. I must tell that person that. And that's the people I work with in the job I do in relation to psychically helping people. And you get lots of stuff come through, and it's just the natural medium, the source, So yeah, it's
that's right. And I don't know if you believe this, but what I see. Thomas Mann, the German writer, said something very interesting. He said that something like, in the life of a society, the mythological represents an early and primitive stage of life. But in the life of an individual, it represents a late and mature stage of life. Well, that's a bit of a mouthful, but, in essence, I think when the soul is a long way down the road, what its experiences are much more archetypal experiences.
Yeah.
So the soul is taking on much bigger chunks of the collective unconscious, is taking on much bigger chunks to deal with, and the journey can get harder, and I think the advanced soul suffers a lot often and doesn't meet many fellow travelers necessarily very easily.
No, you're right.
Younger soul, I think younger souls probably, the lessons are slightly different. I mean, as there's no time in soul terms anyway, but we're just talking in these terms semantically to make it understood. But, I think once you've been around the block a few times, as we have, you're dealing with some quite tough situations often when you come into a life.
Yeah, and it's interesting, as you're saying that. Debbie's wrote an interesting comment on here. I'll read to you, which is a very interesting comment. Debbie Johnson says, "Your parents must be proud of your work to help others. A gift." I think that I understand what she means by that, but that's not necessarily what happens in practical sense, is it?
Not in my case, no.
No, or mine, or many, many thousands, if not millions of people out there that
That's right.
that are there with families that don't necessarily want you. Do you know what I mean? Or like you, and they should be proud
exactly
of you.
What you mean. I mean, particularly if you challenge them and you want the truth and they don't want the truth.
Yeah.
You become, as I did, very unpopular. You become the scapegoat.
Absolutely. And you've also got the trauma of historical elements. I mean, my parents were 18 years married before I turned up.
Wow.
Long time being married.
Very long time.
And joking aside, I didn't come out holding a bread loaf or a piece of coal.
That's the next life thing.
Yeah, that's the next one. Yeah, but and my father refused flat blank when he was told, you must come to hospital, your wife's having a baby, and he refused. He said, no, she's not having a baby.
Wow.
And of course he did come there, obviously, and it's very traumatic coming into a family when there's such a large gap. Now, the things I'll be grateful for them for, above all, is they taught me mannerism, discipline, and the old ways, which are really the ways that people should be and how they conduct themselves, and politeness and dignity and all the rest of it, respect. But along attached to that was an enormous amount of baggage that the gap was so vast that there was no way of bridging it at times. Do you know what I mean? Because this is a time where, now they talk about children that you can't leave your children, all sorts. They went out to work. These people are hand to mouth existence. Do you know what I mean? And if you're on holiday, they wouldn't go to my school. They wouldn't do anything. And I was an only child, so you're left to your own devices all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of clients who've gone through that sort of experience, and I went through a similar experience myself. And what I often find is clients who are depressed, who feel empty inside, and usually we talk about the lack of mirroring and the fact that they haven't really been given an identity. They haven't had the experience of themselves being reflected back to themselves by their parents, and that always creates an emptiness or a depression or
because we want to be accepted. We want people to say nice things, and then when they don't, it has a detrimental effect on you. But
which takes us back to Boris Johnson and all those people who come in our country. Yeah.
And years later on, obviously, and a lot of worse things than that happened, obviously, but I won't go into all that. But you get to a point where I found myself, which is similar to what you did, and then you begin that journey, which you find that when you actually start that journey, as I'm sure you did, you find there are people along the way that are there to meet you.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I worked quite a bit with the men's movement and mythology in the 90s, and all the old fairy tales talk about, the shaggy pony by the side of the road, or the old wise woman, or, characters you meet that you might dismiss. And often that's one of the tests in the fairy tales is, are you one of the kind of wicked brothers who will be arrogant and dismissive of these helpers and not recognize the soul in them? Or are you someone who's going to, really be gracious and grateful and humble, or getting little bits of help from people you might not normally accept it from?
Yeah. I'll tell you, I could sit and talk to you for hours, Simon. You're fascinating.
Oh, so are you, mate. It's very nice. It's been so easy, isn't it?
Well, it's refreshing because, when you do it off the hoof like this, and it is about trust, and it is about belief, and it's the same as what I do with this show. When you go in front of people, it's about just being yourself. What you see is what you get. If you met me, I'd be exactly the same as I am now. There's nothing there.
You do. And I think you've just described what the whole therapy journey is about. And to be a therapist, you've got to be congruent. You've got to be the same on the inside as you are on the outside. Yeah. Or you've got to be working towards that, at least. Yeah. And encouraging clients to do the same.
Yeah.
No fakery.
You do know, now you've been on here, we will get you back.
Oh, I'm delighted. I'd love to come back. As you say, we can talk for hours, or probably days, so we might as well stretch it out.
Yeah. It'll probably be a month or so's time, but we'll get you back on. You'll become part of the regular guest clan on the Inview, which is growing all the time, and it's nice tonight because there's lots of people that haven't been on before tonight, which is nice, you know.
Well, we've never even spoken before tonight.
No, we haven't. But it's a bit like, it's weird, but it's a bit like I've known you for a very long time. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's one of those meant to be things, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's the same as Tanya earlier on. Never spoken to her before, but it's like I've known her a long time before as well. You know, it wasn't. There's nothing difficult because everything is easy because you're two people that same as yourself that we're sitting down having a chat about all sorts of things. You know.
Yeah.
And at the same time, doing it in a nice, fun way to educate people in a fun way, basically.
Well, I think that's what helps people to keep it relaxed and informal, doesn't it? And you know, as a therapist, I'm not one of those kind of overly rigid.
No.
I'm not trained in the way. I mean, I do note the transferences between me and the client, etc. But I'm not unfriendly or cold or anything like that.
No.
I'm very warm with people.
Yeah, I can tell that your energy is really good, Simon. And it is, and I think we've conversed on Facebook before, but I don't think, and I know we do a lot of likes on each other's posts, but I don't think we ever spoke to each other. So it's an absolute pleasure. And you are I can understand why you're very good at what you do because you've got such an immensely relaxing demeanor about yourself. And I can imagine when people come and sit down with you, they're almost so content and getting into their conscious space that they're almost drifting off into meditation state.
Well, I mean, Jung said something. He said a few things, obviously, but he said that the shared karma between the client and the therapist is really important, and I believe that. And I think often I've noticed as time's gone on, and the last few years particularly, that the clients I meet, I already seem to know them, and they seem to know me, and then it really works, you know, because it's obviously we've attracted each other through a resonance or something.
But isn't that because, I mean, I would say to you, potentially, I feel that everyone you meet that comes into your vicinity, whatever that may be, family, friends, clients, are people you have known before.
I think that's right. And I think that's what he was talking about. I mean, I think the shared karma can sometimes be just thematic, like you've got similar themes and you've been through similar experiences. Or often it is that you have known this soul before. And I think as your soul matures, you meet more and more people you've known before.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
Well, that's my experience anyway, Clint. I don't know about you.
I completely agree with everything you said. It's absolutely phenomenal. Do you want to give your details out, young
Sure,
Simon?
Sure. So the best way to contact me is on my website, which is called soulvision.co.uk, SOUL vision, one word, .co.uk. There's a contact form on there. There's also articles and what I do and all that stuff, prices, etc. So, you know, if anyone feels touched by our conversation and feels I can help them, please get in touch.
It's been a really good conversation, actually. I feel that we've had a very broad spectrum, and I do feel it would have touched a lot of different people out there, and I do hope people in contact with you. I do hope at some point I'll have a beer with you or something. Well, that'd be quite interesting to
where are you living?
I'm in Somerset.
Oh, so am I. So
that's not hard, is it?
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I've really enjoyed myself.
I'm really pleased you have, Simon, and I really have a lot of respect for you coming on. Thank you very much. And I really look forward to coming on again, as I know many people that are listening will as well. And please get in contact with Simon if you want to. You've been an amazing guest, Simon. Thank you very much. It's been it's mad tonight because we normally have 4 guests, but one, unfortunately, I didn't feel was going to be there. And I had on Tanya, who basically took over 2 guest slot, and I've done the same with you. So, but it's nice because it's a lot more relaxed.
Oh yeah, it's been very relaxed. I mean, I always say to people say, "Well, what do you do for work?" And I say, "I don't work. I'm just myself, and I get paid for it."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I want to work. I don't want to work. I just want to be me.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Yeah.
Best way to go.
Yes, just be you. Just be you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. It took long enough to get there, so you may as well enjoy it.
Yeah, believe me, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I know you do.
And you know, again, when you know that the the corner is coming and you know that the way is up, you get a feel that things are within that place then, don't you? So you know that things are just going to progress, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Simon, you've been amazing. And don't forget, this will go on the Facebook wall, so you can actually put it on your wall.
Okay.
You're in, well, the show itself, but the interview and everything. You can put it on your website, wherever you want to put it, basically. So
great, will do. I will. You mean the recording?
Yes, the whole show will be put on Facebook. If not tonight, be tomorrow. On the wall, and you can share. It's unlocked, so you'll be able to share it anywhere.
All right. Well, no doubt we'll be in touch anyway.
Yeah, that'd be really good. I'll come and see. I'll probably need about 10 weeks therapy with you. Yeah, you've been amazing. Thank you, Simon. And we will speak again soon.
We will. I'm honoured. Thank you, Clint.
And I am as well. Thank you very much. You're a lovely guy. All right. Bye. Thanks, Simon. Bye. Bye. What a lovely guy. What a lovely guy. Absolutely amazing. And Tanya, what a lovely lady. Immense people. And, you know, I do get a bit carried away, so I do apologise if I did talk over him a little bit. I tried to actually come off the gas with that. It's just, you know, we're all passionate people. We do realise that sometimes maybe I should have shut up here or there. But, you know, it is something that it's very difficult when you're doing something like this, because you have a lot you want to put in, and you're trying to think and gauge what the people out there want to hear or take on board and that as well. So, you know, he's going to be on the show loads of times. Simon's immense. And we have another guest. Now this, I know who this person is. He is, let's get this right here. He is my cousin. Hello, Cuzbro. How are you? Hello, can you hear me, Cuzbro?
I certainly can.
Hello, young man. How are you? How are you doing? This is a world according to Cuzbro. Have you been listening to the show? What an amazing show.
I have been. I have been listening to the show. Yeah, I thought I'd call you on Messenger as a reception here out in the wilds. Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
So,
what do you think of the two guests tonight? They're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, really different. Brings different perspective. It's good.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's diversity.
Yeah. So the world according to Cuzbro. What's the world according to Cuzbro? What's in your world at the moment that you are excited about, fed up about, or about?
Well, my world at the moment, I mean, I have shared it. So you look on my wall.
Okay.
Susie shared it with me, and we watched it last night.
Okay. But what did you watch?
This Dutch woman, she's done also a lot of research and all that sort of thing. And basically what it's about is the hierarchy. Who runs the world? Who are the ones above the presidents, prime ministers, who's above the Rockefellers and all that. Everybody has a boss.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
And it all boils down to the Vatican, part of the Roman Catholic Church, the Jesuits, or what have you. And Trump may come across as an idiot, but there are signs that we've shown when we saw this. It was about 2 hours long. This woman's done an awful lot of research.
I'll have to look at this. I haven't seen this film. So, yeah, I will look at it.
Yeah, she's done an awful lot of research. I mean, you remember the people, all these people, thousands of people, hundreds of people were coming out through Mexico and marching on towards America, you know, for a better life and all that, because they come from all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
And she said, well, look at them. Now look at the feet. They got flip-flops. They got normal sort of shoes. They look in perfect health, that sort of thing. And also different signs and all that sort of thing to look out for. And Trump gives signs as well. He's not an idiot.
No, he's not. He's not an idiot.
He's not an idiot. He gives signs. And there's a lot of things going down. And there's Mel Gibson has also been on there. You know, he's been quoted as well about Hollywood and how how deep paedophilia and sex exploitation goes. And he said, I'm only, just given, I'm just given the crust, really. There's so much more that you would not believe.
There's a hit list of up to 150 names in Hollywood.
But
big actors, big stars.
Than that, and it goes higher.
Yeah, it does.
It goes up to, well, you've only got to do research on something like, I know it sounds funny, but Pizzagate.
Yeah.
And Obama, it goes higher, over this country, it goes to the royal family. It's ridiculous. It just makes you think.
Yeah, it does. It changes the whole perspective of your world.
It does.
Because I can't remember.
But they did say towards the end there is hope, and that hope is there's an organisation, not a person, called Q.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
You have.
Yeah.
And there's certain people in there. They're not divulging who they are or anything like that.
Yeah.
But have been in the wings for the last 20 or so years, planning things to literally take it out and take over and bring the world back to where it should be.
Yeah. I think that Donald Trump is involved with that, definitely, because
I think he is. Yes.
In this lockdown scenario in America, there was 35,000 children released from underground installations.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this wall, everybody's on about, including myself, laughed. Yeah, people can fly over it and all that sort of thing. But the wall, he's building that for a specific reason. And that was, according to this video, that sort of thing. And that is to keep sex trafficking and exploitation of young kids that coming over to go into, being bought and sold, because it's going on even to the highest level.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know it is. Yeah.
And, I said to Susie, well, how come he hasn't been bounced off that sort of thing? People have tried, but there's all sorts of other things behind it. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, he's just one.
Yeah.
There is a whole movement, and they've been planning for a lot of years. And I do believe that something will happen within the next couple of years. Big. Now, you only got to look at Andrew, Prince Andrew.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
And what's happened to him? Nothing at the moment. It's just going round and round, and it will do. Because the media, the FBI, the CIA, they're all in the hierarchy. They're all in the ones which Q will destroy. Well, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. You make up your own mind.
Yeah. I understand that. I have seen about Q. I haven't even looked into Q at all. Actually, Matthew John asked me a question quite a while ago now. He said, "What do you think of Q?" And I said, "Well, I haven't really looked at it because it exploded onto the internet, and I do know, particularly with the children. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he's a very famous guy, investigator." And very close to a lot of people. And I did put it on my wall a long time ago, probably 3 months ago, 3.5, or maybe 4 months ago, where he's doing an interview on YouTube where he was telling people that within the next 2.5, 3 months, all this, not about COVID, but all these children will be saved. And there's a lot of people working underneath and in the underground.
Oh, there's an awful lot of people working here, there, and everywhere. Nobody knows anything about.
Nobody knows anything about them. And what's interesting is that they are in various chains of command, or they're very close to people that they're trying to capture. Do you know what I mean?
Well, all I can say is things are happening, and they're starting to happen. And it's strange at the moment, because the best way to control people is when they're split.
Yeah, division. Yeah.
Now, we had coronavirus, which is, okay, everybody's staying in and out, but they're not. People, the powers that be realise they're not stupid. No one, that level is stupid. They realise that people are going to go out, come in, that sort of thing, and they're going to. It's all a farce.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. It's a farce. And you look at these. That police officer and that black guy. That was terrible. It was wrong, but it was so well timed.
No, I understand what you're saying. And a lot of people would say, and there are people out there saying that it was actually not, it was done to create what we've got right now. Because I do feel that, in my opinion, I feel that you've had a lot of caged people for a long time that needed something. Otherwise, they're just going to explode.
If coronavirus hadn't happened, there wouldn't be the amount of people on the streets and that demonstrating and all that sort of thing.
No.
And you've had a few, but not in this country. You had a few over in America, that sort of thing. But because people have been locked up for so long, they needed something to believe in, to get out.
But there's a worrying factor to this, though, isn't there? Because I do feel, and I said in the beginning of the show tonight, that I do feel that people, to a degree, have lost their way in all of it. To be honest, what I watched, you got far right, the Tommy Robinson Brigade, basically, standing up, singing the Queen, singing the anthem, and all sorts, and protecting statues up against huge black mobs of people, and what you've got is a war going on there, basically, with the police stuck in the middle of it, and. I looked at this and see what people were doing, the violence and everything else, and the pulling down of statues. I can understand the one in Bristol in peacetime. They were trying to do something with it, but they never did. So, and we have to we live in a time that our history has to be correct, and it hasn't been correct for a long time because people have deliberately misled people by history itself.
Well, they have done to a certain degree. Yes, the pulling down of that statue in Bristol, they went, obviously, we all know that they went through, mind you, this is the media telling us.
Again, yeah.
They all went through proper channels and all that, and nothing ever happened, so they took it in themselves to do it. It made a statement.
Yeah.
Now, how far do we go?
Well, that's the question. That is the question on everyone's lips.
When you look at how Horatio Nelson, he wouldn't denounce slavery. I looked it up. He wouldn't denounce it.
No.
I'm sure kings and queens, royal families of the past, have not denounced it. They've probably had black slaves and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, where's this going to go? Are we going to tear down the Nelson's column? Are we going to, people are going to tear down, break up Buckingham Palace, going to demolish that? Now, there has to be some kind of realism going on here.
Yeah, but what you've got, I understand totally what you're saying. I completely agree with you because there has to be a line drawn in the sand. Otherwise, it'd just go on. And it can't go on because, basically, if you look back in all leadership, even in Winston Churchill, and you go back in all the wars, I said earlier on with Kitchener in the Boer War. I mean,
well, I said Horatio Nelson, that sort of thing.
Even further back, yes.
Henry VIII, whatever,
Christopher Columbus.
What do you do?
Yeah.
What you do is you put your foot down, you stop, and you say, right, enough is enough. What you do is, you make. They should realise these leaders. I'm trying not to sound racist, but the black leaders, that sort of thing, the communities should realise that history is history. It's gone. It's in the past. Breaking down these monuments, it's not going to take it away.
No,
there are monuments there to remind you of where you've come from. where you suffered, your forefathers, and you suffered, but it's now different. It's a constant reminder of how far you are coming and how far you're going to go.
I agree. And I don't feel that what they're doing now is doing justice to the racism that they're standing on, because I feel that, I feel that there's got to be an equality card here, to be honest. I watched today on a film on Facebook of 12 black young people kicking the hell out of a white guy, right? And the police all come in and it's all cordoned off and he was taken away. Now people might not like what I'm about to say. I'm not racist at all. We're all one color. We all bleed. I think as Gemma said, we all bleed the same. We do.
Yeah, but quite often there's always two sides to one coin, isn't there? Well, there is.
Well, there is, because, I'm sorry, but, we do not ever hear of racism against white people. Do you know what I mean?
No, we don't.
It doesn't exist in our reality. And that's not right.
No.
So it's got to work both ways, I know that the black community are repressed people. I know they've had a shocking history. I know it's been terribly bad. And they've come to this country where they have grabbed the opportunity and run with it, basically, a lot of them. And a lot of them haven't. And there's,
You're talking about the old days, yeah, when they came to this country and that sort of thing. They came to this country as slaves, brought over, that sort of thing. And then, of course, they were released as slaves, and that's a couple of 100 years or so ago, or maybe 100 years ago, I don't know the exact date.
Yeah.
And then being part of the community. However, the racial part has always been there. And they weren't given the opportunities, to buy houses, to do this. They weren't given the jobs, they weren't given the education, that sort of things. But therefore, they're stuck in high-rise blocks and that here, there, and in a certain group.
Yeah.
An area.
And then they become into gangs, and then they become into drugs.
Exactly.
All manner of different
Exactly
things.
that.
I'm not saying they all are, but big majority is.
But you're always going to get those factions in like a complex set of buildings, high-rise buildings.
Yeah.
You're always going to get a boss. You're always going to get this sort of thing on the jungle. You're always going to get the lord of the area, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's done. It would be for white people, on a estate. You only got to go anywhere on a council estate or anything like that. There's a group of families or something like that who practically rule the area,
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Aren't we missing?
But that is down to what?
Yeah. Aren't we missing something though here massively?
We are.
Because
there's nothing you can really do about that.
If you go to America, where this started, you have a group called the Ku Klux Klan. Now, this group, well, I'm not going to say what their remit is on black people, but as you can imagine, it isn't very nice. Now, these are people.
It never used to be, no. But apparently, over the years, it's mellowed and
why are they allowing? And I know we live in a free society. Supposedly, I wonder that sometimes. But why is a racist organization allowed to carry on? And I'm going to an extreme here because it's so extreme because of a few episodes of I never watched anyway, Little Britain. They've taken the whole thing off. But the Ku Klux Klan sit there.
But, it gets ridiculous. I mean, where do you draw, like I was saying earlier, where do you draw the line?
Where do you?
I see posts on Facebook, well, mind you, it's Facebook too, you know.
Yeah.
They withdrew the BBC withdrawn the classic 40 Towers.
Yeah.
Germans episode, you know, where John Cleese did the Nazi walk. And then a few days later, they put it back.
Yeah, but it's
you
not.
know,
I wouldn't class that as racism.
It's not racism. I mean, you look at the film, one of my voted, you know, by a lot of things, as the second greatest comedy film of all time, and that was Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
The first number one was Life of Brian, but Blazing Saddles. Now, the N-word used in there quite often, that sort of thing. But the point of the whole film was he came out as the hero.
Yeah.
He was the hero of the film. But people over the years have tried to ban that. You know.
Well, there's something you'll never see on television, which is which I'm sure you watch when you're younger, like me. Love Thy Neighbour.
Well, yeah, but the black guy always came out on top there.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I mean, Rising Dam, Lenny Rossiter. He always come out on top there, the black guy. You know, that sort of thing. And I hate using the terminology black.
Yeah, I
coloured.
do. Yeah.
Or anything like that. I mean, they're all human beings. They're all the same as us.
We're all the same. Yes, completely.
We're all the same. And then when you see these banners, Black Lives Matter. No, they don't. Fuck that. All lives matter.
All lives matter, yes. Whatever colour, creed, we all, as Gemma said earlier on, I'll say it again, when we cut, we bleed the same. When we go to the toilet, we do the same. Do you know what I mean? None of us are any different to each other. We're the same. All of us. And, you know, this goes deeper, and people get so insular in one area because I've said for a long time, America is Native American Indian land taken by white people. So in other words, it's not their country for a start. Do you know what I mean?
No, of course it's not.
It's not their country. It's the Native American Indians who they then put into child prostitution, who they then put into selling drugs and drink, gun running, God knows what else, stick them in a reservation and lie to them right through. They're huge. There are hundreds of thousands of tribes that were there, lied to, repressed, killed, maimed, raped, tortured, you name it.
And Abraham Lincoln wanted to make a point. He wanted to do something about that.
Yeah.
And he was assassinated.
Yeah.
For that. JFK, back in 1963, he wanted to make, you know, because the Federal Bank invented itself with a few other, you know, that sort of thing. It was never passed through Congress or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just invented itself. There were three people. You watch the video and it will tell you. There were three people who were, you know, three very, very wealthy people in America at the time who opposed what was going to happen, and they needed their votes. They were on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
There
Coincidence?
You go.
Yeah.
What coincidence? Strange coincidence, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, I mean,
you can look at all things through history.
Yeah, you look at Africa. Africa.
JFK, as I said a few minutes ago, he was going to devalue everything near enough, you know, and bring out these green notes, what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, that was going to devalue all the big people, all that sort of thing, your Rockefellers, your Rothschilds.
Yeah.
He was assassinated.
Yeah, of course he was. MH370 had two people.
Than we even realise, and say it is. I'll tell you, I'll give you something. They showed in this video as well. This woman who put this thing on. You must see it. It's about 2 hours
I
long.
might have seen bits of this actually. It does ring.
You'd be amazed if you haven't seen it. Things like there was when Donald Trump, he was given an interview. I mean, so many interviews have been edited for that to make him look like whatever. Yeah. He's holding a bottle of water, right? And it's got Fiji water on, on the label on it. And that was a sign given to one or two other people, and well, I can't say what goes into it because I can't exactly remember. It's a long old thing. But there were certain arrests and all that sort of thing about that. And there's signs as well. There are, demonic signs. There are.
They hide it in front of your eyes. Everything is hidden in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. They're right. The signs. You've got Pizzagate. You've got Obamagate. He goes on about Obamagate, and he wasn't the president you think he was.
No.
According to this. So you make up your own minds. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, of course
it's all about people. There's this woman's research, and she researched it for years, and it will blow your mind. Yeah. Literally blow your mind.
I think I've seen bits of that film.
See it.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, a lot of these things that are there to educate people but the problem is it's a film that never make mainstream TV because of what it is, because all the editors, all the people that control the editing, the Rupert Murdochs above the Rupert Murdochs and above that would stop it because there's a code of conduct.
Well, they're all controlled by the hierarchy.
Yes.
So good there. So
people think, this with Prince Andrew is terrible. This is not the first case. This has happened in royalty for years and years.
Of course it has. We're going back centuries.
Yes. Life is very cheap to these people.
Of course it is.
Debbie Johnson.
You'll watch this video and you'll be, at some point you will be disgusted.
Yeah.
Even tears in your eyes.
Debbie Johnson says, history is his story, cannot be changed. It happened. It serves to make us remember mistakes of the past which guide our future. I agree with you, Debbie. The only problem is that the history that you talk about is one that's been created, which means I know that we know a lot of the things that have happened, but we only know those things because of what we've been told and what's been left. But I do feel some of the history that we have on our planet is completely and utterly false.
Some of it, yes. Others, there was no denying that, Holocaust and things like that. When you come when there are,
of course, I understand
shown and people still living who experienced that sort of thing.
Yeah.
However, having said that, we don't really know what goes on behind closed doors here and everywhere today, and have done for the last 30 or 40 years.
Well, and longer. And I mean, you're talking about President Trump. Of President Trump, that he's got no access at all to.
Quite possibly. But what's the best way to put out, and you think, to put out signs, to put out something to, for someone in the crowd who's waiting for a signal, whatever, is to act silly.
Yeah.
This guy, when you look at him, when you think about it, he looks an idiot, and he portrays himself as an idiot. He's very, very clever.
He's a very switched on, clever man. He's a multi-trillionaire, billionaire, whatever you want to call it. He's very switched on and clued up in business.
Yeah.
And he's untouched.
Going on.
He's untouched. Sorry about it, Jace. This person is not part of the establishment.
No.
That's why they wanted Hillary Clinton in there.
Exactly. Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation. You've got to watch this.
Yeah, I know.
The Clinton Foundation and about child trafficking and sexual exploitation and all that, which they were heavily involved in.
Yeah.
You need to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, make up your own mind about it. But there is evidence
They don't tell you in that film that allegedly, I'm going to say, that Bill Clinton and Hillary are also blood drinkers. So wherever they go, they've got a wagon of blood where they go and feed on. So the Rothschilds.
I won't tell you that, but I mean, there is something very, very similar. You need to watch it, mate.
Yeah. I've probably seen bits of this, to be honest. But Yeah, I will give it a watch. And I have seen many different things, and obviously there'll be bits and pieces in that would be very useful. And you know what, people don't realize that then nobody talks about it. You can see it. It's actually been proven that it happened. And I can't remember, it's in 1953, 57. I think it could be 1957. This was when the Queen and Prince Philip went to Papua New Guinea or somewhere, to a monastery. And they went out with 2 priests and 10 children, and they came back with no children and 2 priests.
Yeah. When you look at you look at the royal family at the moment, you think to yourself, Harry and Meghan have decided, you know, to go off and not be part of it as such, that sort of thing.
Of course, that's not Charles's son.
The media says that, oh, Meghan's, you know, bossing him and all that sort of thing. Oh, come on, for fuck's sake.
I don't believe that.
Looking at Prince Harry, he's a prince. He can have the pick of any woman he wanted. Basically, he can go and fall in love with somebody or whatever.
Yeah,
it's a lot of bollocks. He knows something. He knows.
Of course
what's
he does.
going on.
He knows who his father is, for a start. He knows that Charles is not his father.
That's beside the point. My point is that, you know, apparently, well, documented falling out to a degree with Prince William.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Because he doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants out. He knows. Now, William is going to be crowned prince. He's going to be crowned king within the next few months. Probably just before our birthday.
That's a very broad statement to make. I don't disagree with you.
Because there's no way Charles will be, because he will not be the people's king. William will be the people's king.
If they do that, sorry to butt in, Jace. If they do that, I feel there is a chance of a self-salvation. But
there is, as far as that's concerned, to a degree.
The point
is, it's going to be the timing of it. The timing is crucial.
They reckon it's October.
Be all over that. The media's going to be all over everything to do with that. They'll be thinking into the past, you know, what the Queen did, you know, her coronation, leading up, all hunky-dory and all that sort of thing, while other things are going on in the background.
Yeah.
It's all part and parcel of the main agenda.
Yeah, but these people are being found out. These people are being found out, and they're being found out
for a reason.
Yes.
They're big because Q is, well, I'll say no more. You need to watch.
I understand what you're saying. I will have a look at it. Yes, but this is a hidden agenda that's going on, whatever it is, Q or whatever it is, that is a driver that I know that Donald Trump is a main player in as well, in relation
to on the good side.
Yeah, of course.
This is what people don't realise.
Yes. And you know, you only have to look at the results of what's happened. Why has Harry and Meghan gone away? Because he knows there's something big coming, and he wants to be away from these people. And I think he needed somebody strong by him, because I think he is mentally damaged from the loss of his mother, and I feel he's slightly unstable with that. So he would go off the wagon a bit sometimes. Now,
I don't know whether he's slightly unstable about that, but
well, I'm talking about a slight mental problem there, because obviously he has lost.
The mental problem, if anything, wouldn't come from his mother dying, whatever, that sort of thing. I think it would come from the regurgitated garbage he has to be in. The hereditary garbage has gone on through the royal family for centuries.
Yeah,
and still goes on.
Yeah.
In this documentary film, Italian a tourist took a few photographs of a naked young bloke coming out of the window, Buckingham Palace, on sheets.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that on Facebook, and some. I mean, again, it comes down to what people want to believe. Some people said that's not real. that's fake. Some people say it is real.
Things have been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries. Debauchery, God knows what else.
Yeah.
You go back, 1,000 years or so, the high levels.
I've been watching the Game of Thrones.
The main bosses, the main guys are the hierarchy, which is higher than the Rothschilds, as I said earlier. You're looking at the Vatican.
And it's even higher than that. And I feel that it's a very, very small, select group of people. And I feel when this is busted open, this is potentially huge.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? There's Donald Trump. He gave everybody he was standing outside his church holding the Bible up.
Yeah.
And people thought, oh, how pathetic, that sort of thing. He knew what he was doing. He's saying that, this is where the power is.
Well, everyone knows that if you get people to believe in something so virulently, and it's full of dogma, stigma, and it's been thrown at you for years and years and years, you're going to be part of that factory, aren't you?
Of course you are. And it's just factions of the Roman Catholics and that sort of thing been going on. I think it was the current Pope or something like that. He was the only Pope who was a Jesuit to be voted in. And it's, you need to watch this.
Sorry, I understand what you're saying, Jason. I understand what you're saying, and I understand what you mean. And
it opens your eyes. It really opens your eyes. Whether you believe in all of it or not, some of it's skeptical, that sort of thing. But there is so much evidence there.
Yes. Yeah. And
photographic evidence and all sorts.
Yeah. And the thing is, everyone should be watching stuff like that, but they're not. Because a lot of people will not, because we sit in a situation where we are completely obliterated with information, that people eventually lose interest and actually feel that it's all a load of rubbish. There's apathy.
Of course they do. That's how the manipulators, they know how to treat people.
Yeah.
There's two sides. There's always the propagandists and the truthists, or whatever, and there's always, I think, how do they used to say it? Plausible deniability.
Yeah. In a very small scale, in a very small way, what you've got in number 10 is Dominic Cummings, that is actually running everything.
Well, he's part of the establishment, the hierarchy.
Yeah.
So, Boris Johnson, as you said earlier, to one of your guests or something like that, he has a few things on a few bodies in Parliament, and they won't get rid of him for fear. But let's face it, the powers that be, the elite, own the medias, they own
everything.
TV program, this sort of thing. And I was only saying this Tuesday night, we're going on, also part of it was going on about JFK Jr. Or JFK as he's now known, was supposedly killed in an airplane crash or something in the sea with his family. He probably wasn't.
Yeah.
And he was, at the time anyway, his so-called death, him and Trump were very, very good friends.
Yeah.
Also, when you look at evidence as well, facial evidence and things like that, they're going about Julian Assange.
Yeah.
WikiLeaks. He looks so much like Donald Trump when he was a lot younger.
Yeah, yeah.
All sorts of weird things going on. You need to watch it.
Yeah.
You need to share it as well with all your friends and that sort of thing. I think you'll be amazed.
Yeah. And of course, Julian Assange, as Edward Snowden, who's living in Russia in exile, did what they thought was right. But they're part of the picture, part of the story. Do you know what I mean?
Well, a lot of these people know what's coming down.
Yeah.
They're not stupid. They're getting out.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump, when he got into office, he fired several people and people left.
You know, there was 150 CEOs of massive companies. I'm like Vodafone, big companies that all resigned, all on the same day.
They knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. The game's up. And this comes round to what we talked about.
If this is right, you know, the evidence is very, very clear. And a lot of things in that YouTube video, you need to look at it, as I say. It's right. There are going to be a lot of scared people out there. You know, the paedophile rings and that are coming down, as we know. But it goes so high. Yeah.
You got Weinstein, you got Epstein, and Trump was been seen with Epstein. Obviously, he was a friend of his and everything at one point as well. And Epstein, the interesting thing about Epstein is you've got Ghislaine Maxwell, I think her name is Ghislaine. If it's not, I do apologise. Who is in hiding, who knows everything about what happened, that is being hidden at this moment.
A lot of people knew everything. All those emails on Hillary Clinton. And all that, which she destroyed.
Yeah.
There are also some videos that come from that, which WikiLeaks have got, and they're saying that something is going to come out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also dossiers, you know, of what do you call it, getting on boats, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of people getting on boats and they had to sign it and put their name and all that sort of thing on there. Both Clintons going over to Epstein's Island. So and the Clinton Foundation as well has been well reported, but you never see all this.
No, you don't, because none of this is on your mainstream news. Lots of this has been bandied about for a long time, and the Clintons and you know, through very good sources that's been written, there is information out there exactly what that foundation, same as the Bill Gates Foundation. You know, that these.
Oh, he's been mentioned. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But you, like I say, please look at it. I have shared it, and so you should be able to pick it up on my wall.
Yeah, I will. I'll share it. I'll put it on my wall.
It's 2 hours long, but it's in 10 parts, so you can watch 2-3 parts and then watch the next few later on. But it's an eye opener.
Yeah,
and it really, really is.
And you can see how scared they are, because they're all family. There's a lot of strange things going on with this crowd at the moment. Not only Harry leaving and wanting to start afresh because he knows what's coming. Andrew, who has now pulled away completely from anything, that knows that the game's up, and it's only a matter of time before he's going to be in America or interviewed here. And you've got the Queen and Prince Philip, who are both two people that realistically, I mean, he's retired from public duty. She's going to retire from public duty. What you said earlier on is very, very interesting, because the way forward, as you know yourself, is William would be a natural heir to the throne. Because if Prince Charles and Camilla take that throne, the land will be in uproar, because they haven't forgotten Diana. She still lives.
Exactly.
And they killed her.
William is the only
allegedly
real heir to actually, if there's anything to save the royal family in the next, in the coming years, he's the only one who's going to do anything.
Yeah.
And bring it back, if you like, because it will be known as the People's King.
Yes.
Because of Diana.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Which
I've been saying this to you for months and months, well, years, haven't I?
yeah. But Charles, the day that it was ordered to murder her, that was the end of his lifeline, basically.
Yeah. I mean, without doubt, she was murdered.
And these are very nasty people that have people.
These are very, very nasty people.
Yeah, that can just get rid of people just like that.
Yeah, but they're above the law and some.
Yes. Yeah, completely.
There's nothing that can touch them. That's the point.
Do you remember watching Parliament years and years ago and watching Cyril Smith, a very big, large politician sitting in the House of Commons? One of the biggest kiddie fiddlers that Commons knew about as well. Do you know what I mean? Jimmy Savile. Yeah. Jimmy Savile. Yeah. Somebody who mixed in the highest realms of royalty and dignitaries and everything, was allowed to do what he wanted in Stoke Mandeville Hospital. He could go there in the middle of the night and do what he wanted and nobody batted an eyelid. You know what I mean?
Well, it's all about plausible deniability, isn't it?
Yes.
The hierarchy, there are people who are above the law. Jimmy Savile thought he was, and he got caught out at the end. He thought he was bigger than he was. But there are so many people out there. Yeah, but
there is also going to be people that will be thrown to the lions that are outdone their usefulness.
That will be thrown to the lions to protect.
Yes.
To protect the hierarchy.
It's interesting. Matthew John's just come on and he says no one is above the law. I'm going to ask you a question, Matthew, because you're watching or listening right now. You asked me this question some while ago, actually. What do you think of Q? I'm going to ask that question to you. What do you think of Q, Matthew John, if you want to put a comment on there? Because obviously this has been a very thought-provoking 2.5-hour film in segments that McCusbro's watched, which actually highlights an enormous amount of things, some of which I know, some of which I don't. And I'd be interested to see what your take is on Q, Matthew John. And I'm sure he's ferociously writing as I speak in his view on.
Well, Matthew John's on my friends list anyway on Facebook, so I did publicly share it, on friends. So he needs to watch it if he hasn't seen it already.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what he had to say because he probably has watched it. He says, beware of the milk tray man. Lol. I used to like that advert, the milk tray man, landing on a boat in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, just flying into your bedroom.
Yes. Beware of the milk tray man. Yes, I agree.
All because lovely.
Advert, absolutely brilliant television. And you look back at those days and think, well, actually, they weren't that bad, really, were they? Really, to be honest, in comparison to what we live in now.
They were days without knowledge
or fear
or anything like that.
The only fear we had is when we climbed up a tree, would we fall out of it?
But those were like you're saying, those were the days when ignorance was bliss.
Yes. The onset of the internet opens a completely new dynamics. And when the internet came out, I thought...
I do believe the powers that be, the top ones, the Jesuits, that sort of thing, above the Rockefellers, what have you, the Vatican people, I do believe that they didn't realise the power of the internet. How it would transform.
I agree.
Yes, they probably set it up, so they can communicate with each other, that sort of thing. But how it just overnight nearly just blew up overnight.
Yeah.
I don't think they realised how quickly it would take on. And now, Pandora's box had been opened.
Which it always has to. It would have to open because we have to have change.
Yeah. And that's what Q's all about.
Interesting. Yeah. Very
You need to
interesting.
see it. You need to. Excuse me,
Yeah.
Clint. You need to watch it, right, Cosgrove. You need to watch it.
Yeah.
I say it's over 2 hours. I think it's about 2 hours or something long, but you're just watching segments, and you will see things which are obvious in your face.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
don't
that's what they do.
realise.
That's
What's the
what they
best
do.
way to hide things is right in your face,
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
and you will be sickened at a lot of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely to the core.
Yeah. Yeah. I must admit, I was pretty sick watching the demonstrations in London with the idiotic, completely animalistic, completely out of control rabbles that were up there that basically, well, it was just horrible to watch, to be honest.
Well, of course it is, but this takes it to a totally.
Oh, I know this is very low level stuff. Matthew John says there's many Pied Pipers at the moment. Be careful who you follow. Agents are everywhere. He says Q, in my opinion, is a great story and also a great way that we all sit on our asses waiting to be saved. Interesting.
Well, it's been just over 20 years in Awakening because I've had a plan.
Yeah.
You just think about all the undercurrents and that things that happen. All the the knock-on effects and all that sort of thing have to be taken in consideration.
Yeah.
It takes years for something bad happens.
Yeah.
How that we deal with that and how do we get it back on track and blah blah blah, that sort of thing. It's a humongous thing, you're talking about,
and there's many avenues to it. One of them is the fact that in the year 2000 in the Pentagon, it was decided that by those that you're talking about, the hierarchy, much higher than just the ordinary generals and all the rest of it, or even the president, that in the next 20 years they must invade Syria and take it, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, all around there, basically in that area.
Well, yeah, but that's all about banks.
It's all about many things. It's not just about the banks. It's about finding stuff that's missing that they need, that's buried in acres of sand out in the deserts, and they will destroy anything to find it.
It's about oil, but mainly it's about banks.
Yeah. And
if you haven't got, let's face it, Rothschilds own 90%, if not a little bit more, of the world's banks.
There's a few places they aren't, though. They aren't in North Korea.
No,
and they aren't in Russia.
They weren't in Iraq, and they're not in Iran.
They're not in Russia either.
No, exactly. So say no more.
It's interesting. Matthew John says Q has split the truth movement as it was designed to do. It's a programming. We're all being manipulated. The agenda of depopulation, enslavement, Agenda 21, which I know about Agenda 21 and the depopulation, enslavement. There will be pinches of truth in everything, but we have to be so careful. And people like ourselves that have been around a long time that have seen many things, heard many things. And you'll be the first one to say that we have to be careful what we watch because of what people are trying to say in their own way, in their own truth, as you've said yourself. I will have a look at it. I will one evening watch all of that this week at some point.
Yeah, you need to watch it all.
Yeah. I have personally, I've stayed away from Q. Actually, I've heard about it. I know about it. Something inside me, when it was launched onto Facebook and all sorts, and everyone's talking about it. I didn't have that spiritual energy or intuition to feel that I need to go to it.
No, because Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is, well, I'll let you watch it.
Yeah. Well, you see, this Facebook is a CIA mechanism. It was created by the CIA to watch us. And it's out of control, really, because there are people on there that are truth seekers. There are people on there that are truth seekers that are not truth seekers. And where there's light, there's dark. Where there's dark, there's light. Matthew says, don't forget the subliminal programming of our subconscious. That subliminal programming comes right down to the brass tacks of humanity in this country that must watch EastEnders, that must watch Coronation Street, that in the ad breaks must buy what they're shown on TV. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And when you look in the fine print of something like EastEnders, how many people do you see going for a piss and king out?
Nobody is.
How many
people are in there? How many great discussions are taken in toilets? Loads.
Yeah. How many kids, youngsters, teenagers, you see talking about their football teams and in the school and the game? Never. How many girls you see talking about their pin-ups and all that, their pop stars and that sort of shit?
Yeah, no one.
What's it up? And how come no one's got the same bloody Christian name?
Yeah, I know, and I do feel very strongly that they are a mass manipulated TV that is there to completely
that's why I people. Discovery channels and things like that.
Yeah. Matthew John says, how is Q any different? That's what he says. I will watch it. I will look through it and see what it's about and all sorts of that.
No, you should.
Yeah.
You come back.
But there's many different things out there that you can see that are absolutely, again, you have to look at it for what it is. And I wish I could remember this bloke's name, but the guy I watched, I spoke to somebody else earlier on today, on this show tonight, which was about a guy that did his own interview. He's very renowned. He's well known in the circles of releasing. He's a bit of a whistleblower in relation to what's going on. And he said a couple months before, he said that there's so many people involved in this releasement of these children around the world that it is going to come out. It will come out into the media, into Facebook, into wherever. And it did, because of the 35,000 kids that have been saved and the other ones as well. It's interesting. Matthew John says, and we know this as well, the TV is a programmer of your nervous system. It has a patent for that. Lol. It is the third, fourth, second, or whatever man or machine in your room, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And like I said, the only things I might watch occasional news night and see
what rubbish
questions which are asked and that which aren't that proper. They're not that penetrating. And I watch Discovery channels. I like to watch things like Josh Gates, Expedition Unknown, his adventure. He goes around the world looking for ancient artifacts and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's really about it.
Yeah.
Oh, and the old Star Treks.
Yeah. I must admit, I watch some of the TV. And I'll tell you what, I think I'm on season 5 of Game of Thrones. And if you want to I know this is a mythical program, but if you want to look at what and how people can conduct themselves, you only have to watch that to see that these 7 different kingdoms with their different kings and all their entourage that go with them, all their family, what they do to each other, individually as well as a whole, and to other people. And I know that we're looking at a different time because life is so cheap then you could just be killed tomorrow easily. But, it does give an underlying picture, a subliminal message, if you like, has to what actually really goes on and what has gone on for a very, very long time that we know has gone on. And you know, the lies, the deceit and everything else. Because power, the old saying, it's very true. Power corrupts. Power corrupts. It really does. You know, and you know, it's very corrupting, immensely corrupting. And you can, when I said there's a lot of things going on with the royal family, all the windows are boarded up. There's none of the I know she's not there, she's in Windsor Castle or wherever, but there's no trooping the colour troops there. There's crests been taken off the gates, you know, and you know, you said, you made that statement tonight, and to a degree, I wouldn't disagree with you, because I feel potentially what you said has an element of truth to it. I do feel the Queen will abdicate. I do feel it's coming in October. I do feel that Charles will not be king, and I do feel it would go to William. I feel you're right there.
No, I think they've been groomed for the last year or so. More.
Yeah. Matthew John says, I know about Q and I've watched a little, but knowing the law and my rights, my bullshit radar is way higher. This is because it's in the language. Interesting.
Yeah, bullshit. The law. What is the law?
Well, the law is only something that's been made.
So when you talk about people who are above the law, literally, we're not talking about Kojak and things like that in the past, where you know, people above the law, you know, these big conglomerate directors and things like that.
Yeah.
We're talking about people who are above.
Matthew John says, I will watch the one Jason's talking about and get back to you.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to look at it as well. It'd be interesting.
It certainly would.
Matthew John says the Queen has already abdicated, and this is very interesting about with it. The Queen has already abdicated. There's a new challenge to the throne, King John the Third. Have you heard about him?
No, but you could have
King Jason.
King.
King Jason?
The real king.
The real king.
Should be on the throne, and that was King Michael. Well, because the time of Richard II, right, Tony Robinson did this thing, and Tony Robinson.
Yeah.
He delved all into this, and the program was shot on Channel 4.
Okay.
You know, about 20 odd years ago. It was called The Real King of England. They went back through records, and Richard II's wife, his queen, right?
Yeah.
Apparently gave birth to the boy, and he had been over in France.
Right.
At the time of the possible conception.
Okay.
And the evidence showed that he actually signed the book, if you like, you know, in the cathedral to say he was there at a certain time. So unless she gave birth to a healthy boy in 3 months, he was a bastard. And it was known that the Queen at the time was, you know, very, very friendly with one of the head archers.
Yeah.
Around, you know, the castle, as you like, at home.
Okay.
But it was all kept hush-hush.
Yeah.
And apparently there's evidence there, you know, Tony Robinson, it's all there. You got to look, you know, deep enough. So he was saying that basically everyone from Richard II up to now were imposters. Even the Tudors, the lot, they're all imposters. So what he did was trace the correct line from that one, and it came up to this guy, Michael Hutchins, or something like that.
That is.
And knocked on his door.
Was that the Michael Hutchins?
No, not him. No. Michael Hutchins, and explained the situation. He said, "Would you like to take up your role as the true heir, the King of England?" He said, "No, nothing to do with that."
Yeah.
Obviously, an Australian accent.
He was Australian, but originally born in Bristol, by the sounds of it.
No,
That's interesting, but there is a lot about the Queen. He says the Queen has already abdicated. There's a new challenge to the throne, King John III. And then he says Joseph Gregory Hallett. He was paid off to do this program. Joseph Gregory Hallett, I think, is Queen Victoria's great-great-grandson. You see, they can convince anyone of anything in his program, in his story program. Lol.
Well, Channel 4 anyway.
Yeah, well, wherever it was. But, I just thought I'd read it because it's on there. But there is a growing tide of people believing that King John should be the person that sits on the throne. There is.
Well, I will say this, though, that when that program was aired, right, there was nothing in the following day's papers.
No.
Nothing at all. Nothing on the news whatsoever.
No, because they wouldn't want to bring it to people's attention, would they?
No.
There's nothing about King John in any newspaper. It's all over the internet, and Facebook and media sites. But it's not on any newspaper or any news channel because it wouldn't be.
Well, King John was an asshole anyway.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know him personally. Did he come round and have a cup of tea?
No, what his brother mentioned first was the way he fought in the Crusades, that sort of thing. He literally raped England.
Oh, lovely. Nice man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Higher taxes and all that sort of thing, he took advantage.
There is, in relation to where we sit, we've gone through Brexit, which is division. We've gone through a general election, which is division. We've gone through coronavirus, which is division. We've gone through the white and black situation, which is division. And, we're going to get back to what can only be described some semblance of order, which is coming up in relation to us being able to go out under the guise of the Third Reich, which are telling us what we can and can't do. And then what you're going to find is later in the year, you're going to find the big news will be that I do feel that this will come out end of September, maybe middle of September, or even beginning of October. You're absolutely right. The Queen is abdicated already. It's not been knowledge, and that's why there's a lot of things going on in the background. Because I do feel, and it's interesting what you say, and I, to a degree, I hope you're right. Because if you're wrong, and Prince Charles is the person that's going to be taking that throne, I think that's going to cause. We've had a headlong months, years of division, and we're about to head in for another massive division. Matthew John says it's all theatre for your entertainment. But the thing is, but you see, the monarchy itself, my problem with them is the fact that they're not British.
Well, maybe not in originally, but that's beside the point. The point is, a lot of people love the royal family.
Only because they've been told that they should.
Well, it's hereditary.
There's a lot of people believe the earth is flat.
No. But the thing is, there's no escaping the fact that it's not. There's no escaping the fact that if Prince Charles becomes king, then there will be uproar in this country because, like we said earlier, so many people
I know.
loved and respected Diana. And they're not stupid, they've only got to do a little bit of history and realise that your family's been doing things like that for centuries.
Of course they have. Yes.
Thousands.
Trade-offs, underhanded activity, all manner of stuff. I agree. I do.
You know,
I know.
Prince Charles needed someone who could bear healthy children. And it's been going on for donkeys years, hundreds of years. He needed someone who could produce healthy children, and which he did. But what he didn't gamble on, like we all saw originally, we all saw, oh, she's so quiet and all that sort of thing, she'd been like, that she was totally the opposite. She had her own mind. She wanted to do her own thing. She wanted to correct wrongs. And of course that didn't fit in with the establishment.
Yeah. But I still come down to the point that, the royal family are Germanic. They're Germans.
Oh, of course they're not in this. I mean, they're Greek. I mean, what's his name? Philip's Greek, isn't he?
Yeah. Matthew John says, when did the German people realise they were under occupation from the Nazis? Agenda 21 is a plan which was agreed on 28 years ago. We'd been blind for so long. So, we are sitting in a massive, I feel, turbulent change because, this is coronavirus is only just one thing. Brexit is another. Brexit ain't gone away. It's coming back virulently because Boris Johnson's saying we are going to be fully out and all sorts. We're not really out of Brexit. And obviously, we will see the many other things that would be unlayered or peeled off before our eyes, because there will be, as we're heading, because this diversionary tactics that's going on very much is about causing destabilization, detachment. Do you know what I mean? Matthew John says, I would argue she was never queen, and he also says she signed the Coronation Act at the top of the document. That's null and void in inception.
Well, you can say a lot of things. I mean, you can go back and say that Henry VIII supposedly had 6 wives, but he didn't.
Yeah. Everything's got incorporation with it, and the documents that exist from those times are only the things that we can see, and because the people certainly going back in the Henry and Henry VIII and all the rest of them in those days, there's no one alive, obviously, from that time, but there is documentation. And you see, the problem is the one place you spoke about earlier on, which actually holds a lot of keys and actually holds a lot in its vaults, deep down in its annals of time, is the Vatican, because they do have an enormous labyrinth of stuff there that does not ever see the light of day, because it would change the course of our planet and what we are here to do. Do you know what I mean?
Why do you think they hated the Templars so much?
Sorry?
Why do you think they hated the Templars so much? Towards the end.
Yeah, but they actually.
King Philip IV of France, he owed them so much money.
Yeah.
Owed the Templars so much money. He was in cahoots with the Pope, and so they drew up this plan. And them to be heretics, that sort of thing. So they didn't have to pay all this sort of money. But what happened from there?
Well,
The Pope, you know, the biggest, let's say, hierarchy, whatever that, then was the Roman Catholic Church. And it still is today. The different factions, slightly different than it is in the United States. It is everywhere.
yeah, but you see, the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope and the Vatican sit within the realms of everything that exists on our planet that has any power. Anyway, look, I spoke.
People will always have something.
Yeah, but
They
people.
People will always have something. They need something to look up to. Some kind of vision or
It's more than
something.
that. They need.
And
They
so that's
need.
where it's-
It comes down to the fact that people need to believe in something that's unreal to actually believe their existence is real. Now, if a spaceship landed in the middle of Vatican Square, the Pope and all his cronies are finished.
Yeah, well, possibly.
Matthew John says the Jesuits run the world out of the Vatican, as you were talking about earlier on.
Yeah, exactly. They do.
Yeah.
The Jesuits around the world.
Yeah.
They are higher than your Rockefellers and
Yeah.
something. They are far higher than that. You know, they are the world. They run the world, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, it's been quite interesting tonight because we had a long time with each guest, which I think is really good, actually. You've been amazing. Thank you very much, young Jason McCusbro.
So I've had a bit of trouble with the toilet, so
Sorry.
I had a bit of a bad pint earlier, so that's why I've been talking in the toilet.
All right. Well, that's all right. That's okay. And I do feel, well, it's not okay. I hope you feel better. But you know, thank you very much for being on the show and being part of the show. I think this week's show's been really quite phenomenal, to be honest. We covered an enormous array of stuff. And Tanya Weimer, and obviously Simon Heathcote, and yourself. You've all been great guests tonight. It's been a real pleasure, and the time has just flown by. I mean, we're well over time here. This show this week's 3 hours 42 minutes. But it's been great. It's lovely to speak to you, Cusbro.
Yeah, and you watch that bloody video.
I will. I will, and I'll make sure Matthew does as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take care, young man, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah. Take care.
All right. Bye. Wow. What can I say? What a show. I don't know where 3 3/4 hours has gone. It's very unusual, but it's been an immense show tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much to all the guests that I just mentioned. Tanya, Simon, and McCusbro. What we covered so many things. It's such interesting. And this will be on my wall tomorrow. So if you want to share it, please subscribe. If you want to subscribe, like, and do whatever with. If you want to send it out to other people, do look at it. And if you have any questions with it, please come back to us next week and we will message me or whatever, and we will try and answer your questions. Now I've got a big announcement to make because the Inview is not on for 2 weeks. Now the reason for that is because we're going to have a little break, and within that break we're going to actually rejig our guest list. So in other words, we're going to sign up a lot more people. We're looking at the Inview and changing it slightly to make it even more interesting and fabulous. And so the Inview will not be on till the first Sunday in July. So we're going to have a 2-week break. I know you're going to miss us a lot. I will miss you all terribly. But obviously, hold your space out there. Stay safe and everything else. We will see you back. Rare Indigo on, I think it's on the 6th of July, something like that. The first Sunday in July anyway. And obviously, if anyone wants to contact me or anything at any point, please Facebook message me or WhatsApp or whatever. You all have a good week out there. I will see you very soon. And thank you very much for making this show very special. All right. That's the guests and the listeners. And I will speak to you all again very soon. So thank you very much and night night.